I'd like to call this meeting to order. If you can please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll now take a moment of silence. Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Trustee Reinders? Present. Trustee Consolino?
Present.
Trustee Fialco?
Present.
Trustee Stylen?
Present.
Trustee McNaughton? Trustee Mason?
Present.
Mayor Knightsky-Troicki?
Present. And for the record, did Trustee McNaughton state that he was not being in attendance tonight?
Confirmation of that, no.
Because when I spoke to him earlier, just to let everyone know, he said he was boarding a plane. He should be here on time, so he may walk in at any minute. Right, next is community recognition. I don't see any on the agenda tonight. Amendments to the agenda, are there any? Hearing none, can we have an approval for the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Fialco, is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Mason, any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders? Trustee Reinders?
No.
Trustee Fialco?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen? Aye. Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of minutes, September 13th, 2023, Village Board meeting. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Mason, is there a second?
Second.
Trustee Stylen? Trustee Mason, do you have any discussion?
I do not.
Trustee Stylen?
No.
Trustee Reinders?
No.
Trustee Fialco?
Nothing from me.
Trustee Consolino?
No.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Abstain.
Trustee Fialco?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders? Aye. Trustee Stylen? Aye.
Motion carries. September 27th, 2023, Village Board meeting. Is there a motion?
I so move.
Trustee Stylen, is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Reinders, Trustee Stylen, do you have any discussion?
Yes, I do. Can I go ahead? Okay, on page 3, for the approval of minutes for June 6th, Trustee Consolino requested that on page 5 of 6, third paragraph, asked not noted, at the very end fails to mention that she stated that the people that communicated with the village gave contributions to the integrity slate and that she was cut off by the mayor. I'm fine with leaving that in there, but I would like to add a note to these minutes that I am the treasurer of the integrity slate, and I went back and reviewed the minutes of June 6th to see who she was referring to, because it took me by surprise when it was at the meeting, and I would like to call out when there's something said that really isn't true. And I think the 3 names she's talking about were LaRocco and Cristiano and Parente, maybe. That's all I could figure out from the minutes. I do not know any of those people. The first time I saw Parente was at when he appeaed before the board. And if I've ever met LaRocco or Cristiano, it might have been shaking a hand while I was campaigning or at a celebration, but I wouldn't know who they are if I saw them. And I think that, and I checked the records for the integrity slate, and we never received any contributions from them. Thank you.
So I guess my follow-up question would be to the attorneys, since none of that was stated at that time, and maybe it was, I don't recall. How do we add a note in for something such as?
You would make a motion to amend the minutes.
Reflect that it was inaccurate?
Vote on it. And then there'd be a vote with the trustees here. That's what the well, was this under a record somewhere? Is there a tape or something that can be the primary source? Or
Yes.
You can review to check it. So my suggestion would be that you table the issue temporarily, or just continue the issue to the next board meeting, and direct the clerk's office or whomever can listen to the recording to transcribe that portion of the recording. If that indeed is accurate, then you make a motion to amend to reflect that.
So for right now, we table.
Or continue it, for lack of a better word. I mean, table would just be continuation.
May I be permitted to clarify if we're in discussion?
Sure.
Okay, so what I was referring to and what I said at that meeting, to refresh your memory, Trustee Stylen, was that he did an in-kind contribution by giving you guys the event for your fundraiser. That would be Mr. Cristiano. That would be the Phoenix Restaurant.
We paid him.
We paid.
Well, there was an in-kind contribution made after the fact.
No.
Okay. You paid for it. Okay, thanks for clarifying that because that'll help.
Okay, well, regardless, so I think in this paragraph, though, at the time, what I'm saying is at the time, I don't think that was stated, what Trustee Stylen is saying, that, I guess what Trustee Stylen is asking is if we can make a note that what Trustee Consolino had stated was in fact false. So how do you do that if it wasn't discussed at the previous meeting, and these are minutes from the previous meeting?
I don't think you can supplement it to that. You could certainly, I think that the trustee can bring that up during her portion of comment. When you ask her to speak, or when she has an opportunity to speak, she can bring that up, and that can be part of the record here. But as far as going back in time,
Okay.
unless it was actually said during that period of time, or cut off, or something along those lines, I don't think that you can supplement a prior hearing with additional testimony today.
Right, no, I understand that. That's why I wanted it included in these minutes, just so that there is a record, because I don't want people to go back and read that and think that I took contributions from somebody that I did not.
Certainly, and I think for you, I would bring that back up at your specific time to speak, bring that up again,
Okay,
and just ask that it be made part of the record today, just to clarify.
all right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we're moving on with the minutes as they are. Trustee Reinders?
No, I don't have anything.
Trustee Fialko?
Yes, I just want to say it one more time, that when we put our minutes together, Robert's rules is what we're supposed to be going by. Again, we're trying to dissect, make it very hard on the clerk to make all these changes and everything else. I think that's wrong that we're doing that. To clarify something, I guess, because it was, I don't know. Here, all I know is under Robert's rules, section 48, semicolon 1 through 16 says that the minutes should contain mainly a record of what was done at the meeting, not what was said by the members. Minutes are not transcripts of meetings. Rather, the document contains a record of actions taken by the body, organized by the meeting's order of business, the agenda. It is not necessary to dissect and go back and forth with these petty things any longer. I hope after this one, we end it. And I'm talking to everybody, not just one person. This is ridiculous to do this to the clerk, whoever the clerk is on the day of.
Totally agree.
That's all I've got to say.
Thank you, Trustee Fialko. Trustee Mason?
I would agree with Trustee Fialko. Enough with the accusations, and let's press forward.
Okay, Trustee Consolino?
No.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Fialko?
Pass them as is.
Yes, we're passing it as
You want to pass it as it is, not to go back and correct it, as what the attorney said?
Correct.
Trustee Fialko, I don't think you might not have heard me.
In the beginning,
I don't believe that she can make a correction, because what she indicated was that she did not say that at that prior board meeting.
I know, but you said the table so we could go back and review the records, the tape of the meeting, and then come back with it. I think that's fair, since this is going to be the last one, hopefully we do this with. So I'd actually like to make the motion to table.
I'm not saying that she didn't say that. I just want to reflect on a record that that wasn't true. It could be on these minutes. I'm not asking to change those minutes, but I want it recorded that that was not true.
Okay, I misunderstood your intention. Aye.
Trustee Reinders? Aye. Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Abstain.
Motion carries. Next is public comment. Before we ask the public to come speak, we have a representative from District 205, Lockport Central High School update. Angela Adolph, would you please like to come up and give our village an update of what's going on at Central?
Sure. Hi. Thank you for having me. For those that don't know me, my name is Angela Adolph. I'm a member of the administration at Lockport Township High School. And I did want to start by saying thank you to the mayor and her team for their outreach and support. So thank you for your time, your care, concern. It's great to know that when you're faced with challenges, that you have folks that are ready to call you with solutions. So thank you. I wanted to just offer a quick update on what's happening at Central Campus, our freshman center. As many of you know, we've been talking about the needs for remodeling and renovation at Central Campus. Last week's events have brought that to the forefront. First, please know that we have established a dedicated website for all the information that's ongoing with Central Campus. If you go to lths.org, you'll be greeted with a pop-up window that will direct you to the most up-to-date information about our 114-year-old building. The close of business today, our forensic architects with WJE are almost done with their assessment of the ceilings in our building. The good news is they have identified more green areas than red, green meaning low risk, while red meaning high. The LTHS Board of Education will be instructing the administration to repair those areas before students or staff will be able to return to that building. These findings are currently published on our website. We are fortunate that we have great neighbors, and that we are partnering with Lincoln Way High School, District 210, to allow our students the ability to continue in-person learning in a school setting with their current teachers and remain together as a student body. We are grateful to the Board of Education at Lincoln Way and their staff for their partnership. We also wanted to reassure all members of our community that these buildings are inspected regularly. In 2020 and 2021, we did a full structural inspection of the buildings, and all of the findings were submitted to the administration and the Board of Education, and every area of identified concern was repaired. Those findings and those reports are also on our website. We look forward to the ongoing discussion with our community to solve the long-term needs of this campus. I really appreciate it. We will be in touch with the mayor as often as we need to, and feel free to reach out at any time. We are passionately working to get our students back in person learning.
Ms. Adolph, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but does any of the trustees have any questions for Angela? Questions I had were not more or less questions, but clarification. I know there was a lot of rumors going around about asbestos and all that, but from what I understand from Mr. McBride, that Superintendent McBride, there was none found.
So all of the asbestos reports by law are already posted on our website. We also reposted those back on this one page with Central Campus, but there is no asbestos that was found. They did that immediately. That was, it's a 114-year-old building, there was concern.
Trustee Fialko?
I would have a question for the public, and I've been asked it myself. The reason that drop ceiling was put in that collapsed from the plaster coming down was to take, and per the state of Illinois, as far as I understand it, to protect the kids from the lead paint. When that paint came down, was the paint tested to see that it was not contaminated with lead?
So full disclosure is that I'm not 100% aware of all of the different regulations and rules that guard all of those things. I do know that there is some strict policies around lead paint in schools that we would have to adhere to in order for the ROE, like the Regional Office of Education is the only, they're the ones that open and close our buildings. They would have to have inspected that previously. We do not believe that there's any lead paint.
Okay, I would like to have it tested. That would clear up everything for the public, and to know that we've done the right things over there. Just to say you didn't, or it doesn't, or there would be, I think to actually do the testing to make sure there is no lead-based paint in there. I believe that's why the drop ceiling was put in, to meet the state provision to protect the kids from lead paint. That is what they do. They put in drop ceilings. It helps with the heat. It also does cover up the lead paint at that point. Then it only has to be treated up to the ceiling point. So I would like for clarification for this village to know, and for the public who has asked me, I'd like to have it tested for lead paint to give the clarity to the public that that does not exist.
Sure, I'm happy to bring that back.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any?
I do. Angela, you stated that they're still testing and you guys are waiting on it. Will that go up on the website as well for the public?
Yes, whenever we get something, if you look at it right now, again, all you have to do is type in lths.org. You'll see everything that we have to date, as well as we published all of our old building inspections and things like that, just to we're trying to keep ahead of whenever something comes up, we want to clarify with the information.
Do you guys know, you described the red areas versus the green areas, and at least there was more green areas. Do you know what that encompassed?
Yes, we do. If you go to that website, you will see there's maps of all of our floor plans, and they kind of highlight in color coding we didn't do this, this is what the architects, like the risk assessment came back to us as. And when you look at it, you can see the different color codings. They're shaded in green to kind of a lime green to a coral to an orange to a red.
What date do they expect to be able to send them to Lincoln Way? I know they have to turn on the water and different
The water is
things.
on, Lincoln Way is currently used by their park district. So the building has been in use. They have a building manager that's there. So
Okay.
things are on and working.
Okay, that's good news.
So there's no furniture, there's no computers, there's no phones, there's other things. We need the security. We also need the Regional Office of Education to approve occupancy of that building. We can't, nor can Lincoln Way decide when we get to be there.
Okay, thank you.
I have one little short question after that. As far as getting the testing done, can you make sure that our village manager and the mayor receive that report so they can then give it to all the trustees, so we're all clear? I would ask, when can you have it done by? But obviously, there's all kind of things you have to work through to get it tested. I understand that. So thank you so much for coming out here and answering our questions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I imagine it hasn't been easy, so thank you, Angela.
Thank
Do you
you.
guys have any additional questions or
Not at this time, Madam Mayor.
Trustee Simon? Angela, thank you. Thank you for keeping me informed and working together on this. And if you guys need any help with anything, just let us know. We're here to help the students.
We are extremely appreciative of everyone that has reached out. It's been trying, but it's the community that's going to get us through. So
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to public comment. Terry Wicks. And I ask that all comments be kept to 3 minutes. Thank you.
My name is Terry Wicks. I'm a resident here for 10 years. We have 3 children and then 1 freshman, 2 are in grammar school. I come here today to understand the situation and the crisis in our school system. Since our township fails to support high school education, we send our son to another district where children are held in a 100-year-old building. As you know, the ceiling fell down. Fortunately, class was not in session. In my opinion, this is a catastrophic event where our officials and our administration have failed to provide the basic needs of safety. Serious injury, possibly death, has been avoided for now. Our community and our leaders should be embarrassed, ashamed, and deeply concerned. My questions are simple. Who is responsible and why is this happening? Why are these children facing disruptions in the most important times in their lives, especially after COVID? Where are my taxes going, and why are we not supporting our youth and the growth of America? Why does it feel my community is living in a third world? And why do I sense greed and misuse of revenue? We need answers for these questions, and an immediate response is very appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wicks. Jay Rhodey.
Hello, everybody. Residents, board. Hi, you know me, I'm Jay Rhodey, and I am just here because everyone knows I'm the vice chair of the HTRO. And we know that we are going into the season of Christmas, which is the season of giving. It's been brought to my attention by one of our members at the HTRO that hospitals are in need of blood. And so this one member has stood up and he has led us to have our very first blood drive. This is a nonpartisan event. It is open to the full community to try to give back to the people that need help the most. I'd like to recognize the individual that's heading this event. He's sitting here, John Walters. John, thank you very much for bringing us to our attention. Thank you, John. It's on December 16th, 2023, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the HTRO office located at 14320 South Golden Oak Drive. Please help spread the word. I gave a similar message at the township meeting. I also gave their clerk flyers to post. Again, even though we're hosting it at the HTRO, it is a nonpartisan event. It's free, obviously, for anybody to come in. And if the clerk or if the mayor, I could send you guys a flyer too if you would like to advertise it. Because from what I'm told and what John has done the research, hospitals are in need of blood. So that's it. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rhodey. Frank Boujon?
Hey, everybody. Glad to see you all today. Couple things. Gina was nice enough to give me this report, the budget report of April 7th, 2023. This isn't what I was looking for, though. I think you're in violation of the 6-month report, audited report. There's a shortage of CPAs in the state. You're behind for the IRS. This should have been done by October 30th, I believe. You have an April 30th year end, 10/30, 6 months. Could have filed an extension. I think, Joe, you would probably know. The other guy that went over, Stan, what's the guy's name? Is the appraiser now? No. The guy that was here with Steve Balich. Carmen. He told me that you were having trouble finding an auditor. I don't think any audit's been done yet, your mayor. I think you're behind on the audit report. You're in violation of the IRS rules right now. You want to check on it and see if I'm right?
Sure.
Because usually you got a 6-month extension. It doesn't mean you have to pay any money, but you're in violation of reporting to the government. It's a big organization. It's called the 990 report. That's what I'm looking for, the 990. Mulcahy, Porsche, and Salvador used to do it. They sold their firm out to another firm. I know Ed Mulcahy real well. They don't have any, but the other firm does, municipalities. Last time I got to Carmen, this is just a preliminary report from the village. This is just your books. This is not an audit. No audit statement. There's a cover letter on here saying it's been audited. So you're in violation of the law, the villages right now. October 30th should have been done.
Okay, Mr. Boujon, I'm not aware, so I'd have to look into that.
Well, do you have me answer for me in 2 weeks at the next meeting?
I'll have an answer in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I believe we
Before
just
2 weeks.
completed the audit.
Okay, that's just one. I'm not doing this to embarrass you. I'm just saying I was expecting to see an annual report because they asked Joe a while back for it. I said this is not an annual report. It's prepared by client. It's your client's books. It's the village's books. We're running, what, a $100 million operation here? There's a shortage of CPAs around. That's why I know it's probably not been done. Second thing, I want to propose to the trustees, I'm not a trustee, I'd like to see a ban on guns by January 1st, 2024, on gun sales in the village of Orland Park or Homer Glen. And the reason I'd like to see that is I think guns are what causes guys like Lewis and May to kill people easily. Guns are too plentiful. In the 50s, we didn't have any guns. Just the police had guns. There's so many killings now going on. A kid can buy a gun right down the street from me in 3 days. So one of you trustees
3 minutes.
says, 3 more minutes. I'm not through. Do you want to vote for the 3 minutes? How come I'm the one that gets the 3 minute thing all the time?
We'd have to propose a motion. Is there a motion to extend Mr. Boujon an additional 3 minutes?
How about 6 minutes?
No. Mr. Boujon, is there 3 minutes? Is there a motion?
No? Guys, I'm not.
Hearing
trying
none,
to
Mr. Boujon, you can contact the office if you have any more additional
Curtis,
concerns or
you can't
comments.
give me 3 minutes?
I apologize. The motion was not entertained.
Really?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry I embarrassed you about this, but I just
No,
wanna-
you're not. Don't worry about it.
No,
at
I
all.
mean,
We will let you know
I
about
expect to get
it.
an annual report from the other fellow, the assessor, and he's gone. He's been gone since April.
All right. Thank you, Mr.
They
Boujon.
you probably didn't know. I don't know when. Can I put one more question? When's the last report you filed?
I do not know that off the top
Let's
of my head.
find out the 990
Our accountant
report.
is not here, but
Can
I
you
will.
call me in the next couple of days?
I will
You got my
find
number?
out tomorrow and I'll give you a buzz.
Yeah, you got my number.
Yes, I do.
Because
Thank
you
you.
might be a couple years behind.
Okay. All right.
It's easy to
Thank
get
you.
behind anything.
Heidi?
Hi, thank you for letting me speak. My name is Heidi, and I'm here because I made a lot of promises to a lot of people that I would see a project through, the Parker Hadley Road project. I actually wrote down what I'm going to say, so I'll just read it. So I'm here advocating for the stakeholders who are along the 4-mile corridor, and I'm also a supporter of keeping it as is and preserving the environmental, historical, agricultural aspects on Parker, Chicago-Bloomington Trail, and Hadley Roads. I sent out as many emails as I could last night to stakeholders that gave me their email because I attended the Will County Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting on Tuesday, along with Homer Glen resident Edna Piccolini. We learned from Jeff Ronaldson, the Will County DOT, that the village's jurisdictional transfer was submitted to the IDOT, Illinois Department of Transportation, on September 29th, 2023. There wasn't much of a response from IDOT. During October, apparently, according to Jeff, so between all the emails I sent to him and anyone else, apparently they got a response, and there were some minor changes within the jurisdictional transfer, which, by the way, is still at IDOT. Jeff also said that he's hoping much of the road is transferred to you, Homer Glen, and the southern half-mile portion on Parker going south will go to New Lenox Township. On December 5th, at the next Will County Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting, Mr. Ronaldson hopes that most of this is tied up and all the loose ends are gathered up because of the jurisdictional transfer, so then the county will be out of the picture. As of now, the project is pretty much paused, and there's some basic things going on, but I'm asking the mayor and the trustees that if you do get all of the testing and the geotech and the environmental and the historical and all the studies that are still sitting maybe with the consultants, if you would share that with the public. Everyone's been waiting for those. And FOIAs aren't answered because, like I said, they're not with the county. And I also wanted to thank the village for all their efforts with this project. Also, you also have to thank the township as well, because with your combined efforts, this project was halted, and I sincerely hope that it will make a difference as well as make people more aware of what is happening in their area. And I also hope that everyone can work together to build a stronger sense of awareness to the people. They say it takes a village, but I also hear it takes a township. That's supposed to be a joke, but it's not funny, it's silly. But I'm just saying that if the township and the village can put aside their differences and find common ground and try to work together, that probably would make a lot of people happy.
Be great.
And I just want to say thank you.
Andy Pinelli.
Hi, everybody. Andy Pinelli, President of DeBoer Woods Homeowners Association. Subject is jurisdictional transfer, Hadley, Parker. As you know, we have HOA members that could be harmed if Will County road upgrade plans proceed as were originally drafted. Our understanding is that there's a meeting on December 5th with Will County Public Works where the subject will come up again on jurisdictional transfer. We really hope that the Village of Homer Glen Board is staying in close contact with Will County Department of Transportation and also the Will County Board on this, since they're going to have to kind of rubber stamp the approval of this ultimately. So we hope you're engaged on that, and we urge you to please continue your efforts in working through all the village board next steps on making this happen, and to, that would make the jurisdictional transfer official within the Village of Homer Glen. And please let us know if there's anything that you need us to do as citizens of Will County to try to keep pressure on Will County to make this happen the way we want it to happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pinelli. Mr. Gray?
Good evening, Mayor, Board, Village staff. I just wanted to point out that this past Sunday was the Veterans event at Cone House, and I just wanted to say, congratulations and thank you to everybody who contributed to that, who worked it. It was a great event. The veterans had a great time. I got a chance to talk to a lot of them. Lou Zemke, the commander of the post, said it was a great turnout, a great success. And I just wanted to say congratulations to you all. Everybody who took part in that, it was a great event, so thank you.
Thank you, Trustee. Thank you, Mr. Gray. He was a trustee at one point, I'm sorry. All right, moving on to reports and communications from president and other officers. Village Manager Joe Baber.
Just remind everyone with the time change, drive safely out there. It's also deer mating season, so they're out and about too. So I've seen a few instances of deer being hit in the community. We got a couple road projects going on. Obviously, our parking project here around Heritage Park. Take extra caution around there, and as well on Bell Road, the construction that's going on there. Just also, Village Hall will be closed on Friday in observance of Veterans Day. Staff will be working inside doing some training. We'll be partnering with the U.S. Marine Corps for collection of toys for their annual Toys for Tots program. There'll be containers out near the front of the building shortly. And also, there's a turkey trot run on Sunday here at Heritage Park involving Butler and Young schools. And that's all I have.
Thank you. I'm going to allow staff to piggyback on your report, if you don't mind. And Melissa, if you'd like to touch base on Hadley, Parker, Scheibloom.
Sure. I actually would say that Heidi covered it pretty well. But I will add that my understanding is that it will go to the 5th for the committee again, but that it also has to go to the Will County Board, which I think you mentioned, and I was going to mention, I just looked it up, it's the 21st, I believe, and I'm assuming they're having that meeting. It's so close to the holidays, but that's my understanding, is that Jeff was preparing it to go to that December board meeting. I'm planning on attending. I don't know if anybody else would like to attend. That's all I have.
Heidi had also mentioned about those reports that we've asked about in numerous meetings.
Yeah, so my understanding, we did FOIA and discuss with them all those reports, which were not public record at the time. I don't know if they will become public record just because the project's over. I have no idea. We would always ask, but I do not believe that there's any additional work that has been happening since this was put on pause anyways, but we can circle back with them and ask.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Okay, trustees, Trustee Mason?
Yes, ma'am. November 1st, we held our behavioral health and addiction recovery, and we're moving forward and making some progress. We're working on a roundtable event. We've got some professionals that are weighing in on that, so I think we're getting some traction there. We also had our Public Service and Safety Committee on November 1st. During October, accidents did double. October, every year they double, or maybe not double, but they increase. As far as crime, it's down. Lieutenant Taylor and his team are doing an excellent job. To reiterate what Manager Baber said, please drive safely out there. We also discussed during our safety meeting and committee, the purchasing of a potential plow. We support this. I guess it was discussed, and it's going to come up later, but back in April of 22, the village board meeting for 2 new plows were discussed. And the Public Works Department has an aging fleet, which we all know. We've had many discussions, Mr. Woods and myself, on this, and I'm in the transportation business, as I've mentioned before. I think I have something like 1,500 tractors and trailers on order, and it takes forever. Everything's made abroad these days. It takes forever to get parts, pieces, actual fleets. We have the potential in my private sector of purchasing power, not 1 unit, but 1,500 units, and we still can't get them there on back order for 2.5 years. So just throwing that out there. I know that we've threw it into the budget, $452,000 for 2 new plows, or $226,000 a piece. This opportunity presented itself because another municipality was purchasing it and they reallocated the funds, and so that was off the table. At this point, it's a 2023 plow, and it's a 550. And when you really look at our fleet, which Mr. Woods has put together pretty good, we have 5 trucks that currently most likely won't even make it through the season. 3 are on the hopeful list. When you start to repair And I mean, you can look at the years, and some of these are 2005, 1999, 2000, 2006. We have 3 that are hopeful that'll make it through the season. We want to make sure we're taking care of our residents. We want to make sure the streets are plowed in the event. Hopefully we have a mild winter, but we know that 3 of them aren't going to make it through without repairs. That's obvious. I don't want to even get rid of the truck if we actually make motion and pass this tonight. I don't want to get rid of the other one because I think we're going to need it as a backup at some point with the way this fleet's looking. We have 6 trailers that will make it that we know, or tractors that we know that are going to make it through the season. So I just wanted to touch base on that briefly. Another public service is the FBI is making warnings right now about charity fraud during the Israel-Hamas conflict. Robert Wes Wheeler, Jr., Special Agent in charge of the Chicago Field Office of the Federal Bureau of Investigations, is warning our public that the criminals are soliciting fraudulent humanitarian donations through Israel-Hamas conflict. The FBI has received complaints of legitimate email addresses belonging to Israel-based individuals being hacked and possibly spoofed for solicitation of donations. Charity fraud is especially prevalent during the times of increased conflicts such as war, natural disasters, or epidemics. Criminals use these tragedies to exploit the members of the public looking to support humanitarian efforts. This fraud is also known as disaster fraud. It comes in many forms. Perpetrators may claim to be associated with established charities or creators of a new charity associated with an emerging conflict. Some perpetrators may prey on their own local communities by claiming to collect funds for victims and their families abroad while they are actually using these funds for their own personal expenses in support of criminal activities and enterprises domestically and internationally. Foreign terrorist organizations often establish fake charities using social media platforms to subsidize their operations. Fraudulent solicitations may take the form of social media posts, an email, or even a cold call. Common red flags indicate possible fraudulent activity may be unsolicited emails, seeking donations, or looking for a fund for a charity. If you're looking for a fund to fund a charity, please visit a website directly rather than clicking on a link in an email. Charities ask you to pay with cash or gift cards or transfers or cryptocurrency. Criminals will often encourage payment by these methods to make it difficult to track and seek reimbursement. To avoid these charity frauds, research the charity online, verify the phone numbers and the email addresses before donating. If giving to a well-known established charity, please ensure that you are using a correct website. Criminals have been known to engage in domain spoofing or URL hacking to create lookalike websites. Use the Internal Revenue Service to see if the charity you are using is registered. Charity scams, prey on both local communities and vulnerable populations devastated by life-altering catastrophes. FBI Chicago reminds the public that these scams are serious crimes and are very real and the consequences and encourage the public to report violations of the federal law to the federal law agencies via the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center or call 1-800-CALL-FBI. On a lighter note, not used to talking for so long. Veterans Day is upon us. Veterans Day in the United States is a national holiday, November 11th, honoring our vets and of the armed forces. The observation originated in 1919 on the first anniversary of the 1918 armistice. This ended World War I and was known as Armistice Day. Memorial Day is a time to remember those who gave their lives for our country, particularly in battle from the wounds they suffered in battle. Veterans Day honors all of those who have served our country in war and peace, dead or alive. Although it is largely intended to thank living veterans for their sacrifices, World War I officially ended the Treaty of Versailles, which was signed on June 28, 1919. However, the fighting ended about 7 months before that, when the Allies and Germany put into effect an armistice on the 11th hour of the 11th day in the 11th month. For that reason, November 11th, 1918 was largely considered the end of the war, to end all wars, and dubbed Armistice Day. Congress signed the Uniform Holiday Bill of 1968 to ensure that a federal holiday, Veterans Day, was included and would be celebrated on a Monday. During this Veterans holiday and leading up to it, it is with immense pride and respect that we celebrate our men and women who have served this great nation, and we thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Trustee Mason. Trustee Steilen?
Thank you. The Community Development Committee will be meeting tomorrow and planning Homer for the holidays. We're looking forward to that. And that's all I'm going to say.
Okay. Trustee Reinders?
I was just going to remind everybody that Homer for the Holidays is December 3rd, so mark your calendars. And also, look out for the new Christmas tree. That's all I got.
Trustee Fialko?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Homer Fest, the next meeting will be on Wednesday, December 4th at 5:30 p.m. at the community room. I'd also like to say this is the season when we get a lot of solicitors coming to the doors, asking to sell packages to kill insects and everything else. At the Village Hall, we do have no solicitation decal available for free. If you're interested in that and you're experiencing that problem at your resident. The other thing is I'd like to say happy birthday to 3 people here at our village. For one, today is Candace Bilski's birthday. Happy birthday, Candace, our clerk. Then Chris Pasquinelli had a birthday on the 7th, and Sue Stalin will have one on the 10th. So happy birthday, Sue. And then to close, to all of our veterans, thank you for your commitment and what you've done for us so we can have our freedoms. So happy Veterans Day this Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Fialko. Trustee Cancelino?
Reporting for Environment Committee, we just met yesterday. However, I'm going to wait to report to the board and to our Environment Committee. I did ask for some clarification on some stuff from staff in regards to the 319 grant area we had questions both from residents and from committee members wanting to understand more about the project and how it's going to affect the 319 grant area. So I asked for a little more clarification from staff. So once I get it, then I'll bring it to the board because there are some concerns. They want to know about the mitigation because it is so closely adjacent to the property. In regards to our veterans, as a proud Marine wife of an amazing combat veteran, I want to take the time tonight to recognize my husband and all of our veterans. I do not politic with my family, and I rarely mention my personal life in regard to village business. My husband has been selflessly serving our country for over 20 years, and he is currently on active duty. I cannot say thank you enough to U.S. Marine Master Sergeant Carmen Consolino for his hard work, sacrifice, and commitment to our great nation. He always watches our meetings. I take special pride in supporting my husband and all U.S. military members. Military life is like no other, especially considering that any moment their personal sacrifice can be their life, their limbs, or their mental well-being. Therefore, I strongly encourage our community, be thankful each and every day, not just Veterans Day. Please be kind and supportive of our military members in your daily life. Include all veterans, whether they are retired or still active. Their military careers did not consist of just one day a year while they were working to protect our constitutional freedoms. I would also like to give a shout out for the Marine Corps' 248th birthday this week. Hoorah and Semper Fi, my Marines. That's my report.
Thank you, Trustee Cancelino. Okay. Okay. Village Attorney?
Nothing, Mayor.
Okay. Public safety officials?
Trustee Mason stole most of my thunder. We just had a citizen get fleeced for 25 grand from one of these scams this past week. So I just want to reiterate, any legitimate charity is not going to ask you to bring cash and get Bitcoin at a tobacco shop or badger you on the phone and ask for Amazon gift cards or anything like that. So just make sure to double check with the IRS before you donate. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Sorry. Okay, for my reports, a couple of things. Yes, we had a Veterans Day celebration at Kono's Corn Maze on this past Sunday. The funds that were raised through the Kono's Corn Maze season and on Veterans Day was $3,950, which will all be going to the Veterans Banner Program that our event staff has kindly put together. Those funds will be going to, I believe each banner is somewhere between $150 or $175 each banner. And so with that dollar amount, we're looking at roughly 22, 23 different banners. And for the American Legion in Homer Glen, we had roughly that 22 people submit. So it looks like we're going to have all of their banners covered from our Veterans Day event. So that's great news. I want to send a special thank you to Elena, Jackie, Brett, and Jen Vittori. They are village staff, and they did not charge the village to come and help us that day. That was a volunteer day. It was a volunteer effort. That whole event is a volunteer thing. Mr. Kono makes no money off of it. The money that is raised goes directly to our veterans, every single penny. I also have a long list of people to thank who donated to that event. Nick's Barbecue, Walt Kono, Chesdon's, Mary Gliwa, Orland Park Bakery, Modio, The Phoenix, the Patrinakinwisses, Sue Stylen, Coombs Corner, the O'Connors, Sam's Bar and Gaming, Pelican Harry's, both American Legions in Homer and Lockport, the VFW in Lockport, Patty B's, Babalu's, Joey's, Mugshots, Papa Joe's in Lockport, Taza, Game On, and Tavern in the Glen. So thank you all for who contributed, and the food was amazing. We had more than enough food to go around. Also, I see a lot of people in the audience who also pitched in. The McGarry's, they donated a lot of paper products for the event. Mr. Gray, the Backles, they were all there also supporting and helping, so that means a lot to all of us. Reporting for the Ability Awareness Committee, the meeting was canceled for Tuesday, but it is rescheduled for November 14th at 6:30. To touch base on the blood drive, I think that is an amazing idea. Thank you, Mr. Walters and Mr. Rohde, for saying that. As a blood recipient myself, I'm very happy that our village or the HTRO can step up and do this. I would love to donate, but unfortunately I can't. But I will, if you can send me a flyer or something, I will help get that promoted for you. I know there's been some questions about Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. I am full support of right to bear arms, so I do not see us as a village pushing to have guns banned in Homer Glen. I know that was brought up quite a bit, so I just want to make that very clear. I do have a question for the meetings for November 22nd and December 27th. We usually cancel both of those meetings due to the holidays. I do not see it on the agenda today to make a motion to cancel the next meeting. Do we just make a consensus that we're not having the meetings? Do we?
That'll work. Sure.
Is that okay? Yeah, a consensus? Okay, so we'll conduct that under new business, I guess, to talk about that? Okay. The other thing is that we asked for RFPs for our PR consultant. We did receive 2 of them, one by email and one by mail. Trustee Reinders and I had just happened to be in the office when they both came in, so we opened them together in my office. We will be distributing all that information to the rest of the board so they can review. But I wanted to let you know that that process is now closed, but we will be reviewing individually, and we can set up meetings and interviews for that as well, or a workshop. I also wanted to talk about Hadley Road. There seems to be some confusion regarding Hadley Road. There's been comments and statements made that the village wants to take over the road so we can make it a 4-way highway and allow trucks and blah, blah. I can assure you that this village wants to keep the road the way it is. We are taking the road to keep it the way it is. We are fighting hard for our residents. As Melissa or Ms. King had stated, they did have a committee meeting just the other day. The township, New Lenox Township, is taking their portion of the road and the village is taking our portion, and the village will live happily ever after with the road the way it is. As we talked in the last meeting, there is no way that we can force future boards to do the same. I wish I could. I wish I could make a document that says forever and ever this road would stay the same, but we all know ordinances can change and can be broken, so unfortunately there's nothing to do, but as long as I'm sitting in this seat, that road will remain the same. I think that covers my report for what I can see on here. Yeah, that is it. All right, moving on to consent agenda. Consider for approval accounts payable for the period of October 27th, 2023 through November 9th, 2023 in the amount of $126,382.56. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Trustee Reinders, Trustee Masons, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Cancelino?
No.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Thank you, motion carries. Moving on to legislation and action items. Item 1, consider for approval payment of the Village of Homer Glen September legal bills from Peterson, Johnson, and Murray in the amount of $14,553.50. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Mason, is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Stylen. Trustee Mason, is there any discussion?
I do not have any. I went through it thoroughly. It looks clean.
Trustee Stylen.
No comments.
Trustee Reinders.
No.
Trustee Fialko.
Yes, I do have a question. Page 2, let's go to page 2, right? I just want to know how we're doing things. On page 2 of the bill, for 913, it says prepare for and attend regular scheduled board meeting with executive session. And it doesn't say the word in this next one here. If we go to page 4, on 927, bottom of the page, it says prepare for travel to and from and attend village board meeting. So are we being charged for your travel, or any lawyer, whatever lawyer comes here? Are we being charged for your time to drive here?
Attorney, that would be a question for you.
My particular entries, it's when I leave my office to when I get here, there's a bill for it. I tabulate my time with respect to that.
For travel?
With my specific entries, that's my practice, correct.
Okay, because in one spot, and the reason I bring it up is because in one spot it doesn't say it, and in another spot it does say it.
Is it
So
the same?
If a different attorney comes here, like Paul, are you saying that
I don't know.
possibly Paul doesn't charge for travel?
You would have to speak with Paul directly, but if you have specific questions with regards to my entries, and my billing entries, I can speak with you about it, but I don't know what Paul's practice is. I know what my practice is.
How long is your travel?
Wait, Trustee Mason, please hold. Sorry.
Sir.
Trustee Fialko, where do you see that on page 2?
On page 2, it would be for 913, the only item under 913.
Okay, so that is Mr. Attorney O'Grady.
Okay.
That's a great
now
question.
we get to this one, and there is no travel being charged to the village. I mean, most everybody has to travel to work on their own time, for the most part. And I'm not saying you're wrong. If that's what we agreed to contractually, I'm only bringing it up because I see two different things, that's all.
Yeah, and I can't speak for how the other attorneys do their practice. I'm an associate at the firm, so I don't set any natural standard. I'm not a partner there. But my practice is that I articulate exactly what it is, or to the best I can, for the task that I'm doing.
Right.
If it's travel, I do it.
Maybe between the other lawyers, you guys could get some clarity on that where it's consistent maybe, or because our contract has to say something in regards to that, I would guess, because your pay that you charge the village by hour, right? We have a contract with you, and I'm sure that probably says that. I don't want Paul not getting it if he's entitled to it, or you getting it and you're not entitled to it. So I think we need to find out what the fact is.
Trustee Fialko, I agree with you. And I have a couple other questions myself, I did have questions, which I did have clarified. If you see my notes are all color coordinated and whatnot. Because I do believe that there was a different statement made on associate rate. I thought I would like to review the contract because I thought there was a different rate for an associate instead of a partner. And I'm looking at the back page and I don't see that here. That's the associate rate? Okay, you just stated you're an associate and you are here.
I'm a senior attorney. I'm not, they classify, they bill me out as a partner rate, I would assume, but I'm a senior attorney with my experience level.
Are you an associate there?
Yes.
Okay, because when we did our contract, when we were sitting here with Paul discussing this, he had stated that an associate rate was 190. And so and your name was under an associate, but I see here's 205. So I guess this, I can't I can't motion to table, but if I would like to review the contract, to review that, because I'd like to know what the ruling is on that.
Yeah, and I think, Mayor, what you need to do is speak with Paul Grady, who's the managing partner of the firm. You can square that out with yourself and the trustees with how it is. I am not in any way, shape, or form involved with that
Yeah,
process.
I understand completely, but that's great for pointing that out. Yes, Trustee Fields.
I still kind of got
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah.
I don't mind that you helped me out there, but.
Well, when you ask a question, it's directed to me, so, yeah.
I'm saying, thank you for helping out. I appreciate that. I do see, last month's attorney bill was $18,000 some dollars. This month it's $14,000. Well, yet I don't see anybody coming to the podium and saying anything. We have had 3 attorneys that work here at one time, where those total bills between 3 attorneys never were in this range. And I understand there's a lot of things we have going on, but it is a lot of money also. And I only say this, Mike, this has nothing to do with you. This is just something that has happened here in the past, where we've had people come to this podium and chastise this board and the previous board for attorney bills and the way things were being done, but yet I don't see that same consistency now. But that would be all I have to say. Thank you.
Trustee Fielko, I'm just going to, as we talked about stating facts earlier, when you said that when we had 3 attorneys here and the legal bills were never that high, that is in fact not true.
I went back myself.
Okay, because
But
we
anyway.
did pull the numbers on that just to see, because we do have multiple attorneys working on different matters right now. So I do agree with you. Believe me, we went through this with, I spoke with the attorney on the phone, Mr. O'Grady, myself, and went through all of this, dissected it. I broke it out, or we broke it out into dollar amounts on each item. There's
May I
questions on
ask
the
you a
back.
question?
So what I'm saying is I would make the recommendation to table
Okay,
this
that's what I was going to ask.
until, but I can't make that. So someone else would have to make that
I'd like to
motion.
make
But
a
I would,
motion to table it then based on.
Well, can I finish?
yeah, but we'll,
I think you had a good catch. I did not see that, but that's usually called STEM time when you're traveling, when you have professional services, but I think it should be in unison. I think it should be, if you're charged for it one time, you should be charged for it a second time. If you're not being charged for it, then you shouldn't be charged for it. So I'm in agreement with that. And as far as the numbers being high, and I see that you emphasize the numbers being so high, I think when you look at all the issues, because I went through these issues, and there's a thousand of them. It's like, if there's not an issue, let's create one, is what it seems like. And we put a lot on the lawyers' laps. But you do have a great catch. I appreciate that. I understand STEM time too, because I charge my clients in the private sector for when my travel time starts, when I leave to head to them, if it's an hour away, 2 hours away. That's why I was getting ready to ask Mike, what is the transit from your offices to here?
When, Trustee Mason, I get to speak for myself. When I'm asked to attend these board meetings, I work remotely from home.
Gotcha.
It's close, much closer than from downtown.
Understood.
To keep whatever travel expense down as economical.
Well, we appreciate that, thank you. Good catch, though.
Since I've been skipped, could I
no,
speak now?
we're not done. Nobody skipped you just yet.
yes,
Trustee,
I was.
or I'm sorry, Madam Clerk, who made the motion?
I did.
And who made the second?
So,
And you guys already had a chance to speak. Mr. Rose, Trustee Cancelino?
Yeah, I didn't get my chance to speak, so I'm going to reiterate what Trustee Fialko stated. And yes, I've been doing comparisons on the bills, but I'm going to make a nice juicy list for everybody, because I don't think anybody else on this board has been doing the research on how much we paid for the other attorneys. And these bills are just ridiculous. So yeah, I'm all for tabling it.
So Trustee Fialko made the motion to table. Is there anybody
you
who's,
would have to supersede my motion.
No.
That's not a thing.
can I please run the board meeting? Who's making the second to table?
I will make the second.
Thank you, Trustee Cancelino. Any more discussion on
I
tabling?
just want to say, I made the motion to table because
Right.
you asked us to.
Yes, I know, because I can't.
No, I
So
know.
Trustee Fialko made the second, Trustee Cancelino made, I'm sorry, Trustee Fialko made the first, Trustee Cancelino made the second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll. On the table.
Trustee Stylen.
Aye.
Trustee Mason.
Pass.
Trustee Fialko.
Aye.
Trustee Cancelino.
Aye.
Trustee Reinders. Aye. Trustee Mason.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, moving on to L2. Consider for approval the 2024 Illinois Municipal League Risk Management Association, IMLRMA contribution invoice renewal in the amount of $115,867.62, plus the IMLRMA membership renewal in the amount of $1,750 for a total amount of $117,617.62. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Trustee Reinders, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Trustee Fialko. Trustee Mace, or Trustee Reinders, do you have any
No, we do this every year, so, no.
Trustee Fialko?
Yes, I want to reiterate that this is something that's done every year. This has to do with the Illinois Municipal League and insurance rates, and this is something that has to be done every year. Thank you.
Trustee Consolino?
Yes, it's a requirement by law.
Trustee Mason?
No, I read through it and I see that there was a discount. I just wanted somebody else to make the motion.
Trustee Stylen?
It's all been said.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 3, consider for approval a motion to approve and not to exceed allowance of $12,000 for the material testing services for Heritage Park Parking Expansion Project. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Trustee Reinders, is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Mason. Trustee Reinders?
Basically, this is on our parking expansion that we're doing in the park, and this is the norm. Brett, help me out here. This is the norm when you have to make changes, you want to have a cap on what you would like those changes not to exceed. So, am I right, correct? Wes?
Yeah, it's kind of related to that. This project has been a learning experience for me, with this being the first project that I've had with the village. Normally, these things would all be included, right, as that kind of lump sum thing. When you have this design engineering contract, we'd make sure that we put all these things together, and I could kind of present you guys with one price, and that's it, and we're done. So moving forward, that will be the case, right? It'll be broken down, and these, everyone can see where the numbers are coming from. In this case, this is something that should be added to the contract, I think. It's kind of QCQA, right? It's just checking and giving us the reassurance that we're getting the quality material that's delivered to site, just kind of double checking the contractor's work. I don't think we'll get anywhere near the $12,000. I think that, I can be pretty smart with this. In terms of what we need to do, it's just making sure that I have budgeted enough so I don't have to come back to you and ask for more.
Trustee Mason?
I agree with what Brett just said. I think it's more of guidance, as Trustee Reinders had indicated. We do need to make sure it's, the quality assurance testing is transpiring. And I think, like you said, it's the first go around, and it's going to be easier and included as we move forward.
Trustee Consolino?
No, I'm all for a cap.
Trustee Fialko?
Yes, we had a long conversation about this with our engineer, Brent Westcott, and he helped out a whole lot. I had a little bit of background in this. Actually, what is taking place with the build, and if I'm wrong in anything I say, make sure you stop me. The quality control comes with the contractor that's doing the work. They do their testing afterwards. What this is a supplement to that, and you can see the 10% factors. The 10% factors, we are basically peer checking the check that the company's doing. Now, the original check that's being done, right, Brett? It's done by the company that did the work, right?
Correct.
Okay, so then from there, all we're doing is having somebody peer check the people that check their own work. And when we spend millions of dollars in the village, you have probably seen yourself some shady, or not, some work that's been done in this village that didn't look exactly right. And I ran into that in the beginning when I first started. And I think having this oversight, this peer check on the check, is a very good thing to do, because we're spending millions of dollars, and I would expect that we get the quality that we're paying for. The only question I would have, if there was a discrepancy, let's say the third party that's going to come in and do the testing on the company that did the testing of their own work, should they find a discrepancy from the original test, how would that be handled? Are we looking at a lawsuit between the two? I don't see anywhere in here how we would handle that process should we find there to be a problem through the third party.
Mr. Westcott, if you'd like to answer that.
Yeah, that's a good question. So essentially, the way that it would work out generally in the field, right, if they're doing kind of testing of materials that are being delivered to the site in place, like our asphalt, right, they're running nuclear density tests on it. If there's discrepancies between the tests, generally speaking, the two testers are going to make sure that they're plugging in the same numbers, right? You kind of squash those things and can sort those things out in the field. Maybe they just need to hit it with a roller a few more times to get the proper density. If you have a discrepancy on something like, say, you cast cylinders for any concrete that you pour on the project, for our sidewalks, for our curbs, If there's supposed to be a 4,000 PSI brake strength of those concrete cylinders, and the contractor breaks theirs, and it's 4,000, and I have the QA firm break ours, and ours come in at 2,000, right? That's a pretty big discrepancy. So generally speaking, when you have discrepancies like that, usually the safe bet, depending on the length of curb or whatever, if the contractor has additional cylinders, you can break backup cylinders to verify, hey, we broke 5 cylinders and we got 4,000 PSI every time. So then it could be maybe when we cast our cylinders, they didn't cure correctly, they weren't cast correctly. Those discrepancies do exist, but I think generally speaking, right, if you don't hit brake strength and you don't hit spec, it's remove and replace, and that's the natural process. So if you pour the curb and we don't get the right brake strength, then I'm going to tell the contractor that they need to take it out and replace it because it doesn't meet spec, and that's on them to do that. That cost does not fall back on the village.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Westcott. Trustee Stylen?
Yeah, in a perfect world, we wouldn't have to do this, but I'm glad that we are and do believe it's needed. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 4, consider for approval ordinance number 23-063, an ordinance amending Homer Glen Village Code Section 92-71G entitled Regulations. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Fialko, is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Mason. Trustee Fialko, do you have any comments?
I'm sorry.
Do you have any discussion,
Yes,
comments?
as always. I talked at length with Brett about this also, and we have issues in the village with water and ejector pits and how the water gets displaced. We recently had an issue that we had to walk down. It was clarified that our utility easement is actually our drainage. And I looked at this whole packet, and I see some places are 3 feet, some people are 10 feet, some people, but there's 2 different parts to drainage. And the drainage is, when we have a torrential rainstorm, that's one type of flooding that we get. The other type would be from somebody's ejector pit constantly ejecting water out there and making an issue. And I understand that does exist. But what we need to be careful with is making this restriction with no footage, which it's kind of the discrepancy then goes to, the person that's out there. And I think that we need to, I understand 2 feet. Now, 2 feet from the utility easement, I don't think that's a problem, because a lot of people, even in my backyard, the fence is down the middle of the lot line, right? Now, there's usually 7 feet on each side of that lot line that's a utility easement. And with that said, a lot of people, when they get water in that area, they believe that that's on their property, when that actually is drainage for the rest of the community. Now, in our area, I've got a pipe in the back. The drain itself is 6 inches above the ground line where the water has to get that high. So I'm just saying, before we go making all these restrictions and putting gray into an ordinance, which would mean where somebody else can make the decision based on their observation, I think that we have to be careful there. I believe starting at 5 feet and putting a 5-foot to 10-foot variance in there, where the person that would be inspecting could go out there and say, okay, based on this, I see this happening. This is not in the back at the utility easement. This is at the side, definitely on the sides. I think that makes sense, 10 feet from the sides, but from the back of the yard where there's utility easement, I don't agree with that footage at all. I would say a 5-foot distance, maybe, no, well, even right up to that, because that is the drainage easement. That's what it's there for.
Just for clarification, Trustee Fialko, we are on L4, which is referring to regulations. I think what you're referring to is L5, which talks about property drainage, and I know they kind of go together, but I just want to be clear.
No. Some pump discharge shall not terminate on or within 2 feet of the public right. It's current code, 9271.
I know, but you were referring to drainage, which is L5?
9271 is in this box, though, for motion for consideration. That's what I'm addressing right now. It kind of all meshes together is what it does. But if you look at it, under current code on page 2, it says 9271. 9271 is in the box for motion to consider, which you read. So that's where I'm at. And realistically, this, just so we don't have to, I mean, beat a dead horse, because both of them kind of fall into that same category when we get to the second one. That is what I'm looking at. I'm looking at everybody's, and then from 3 to 10 feet. And I think that when we get to this in the back here under 9271, I'm going to actually make the motion to amend this on page 4.
Are you referencing L5 or L4?
I'm on the item that, here.
If you're talking about...
It's 92, on page 4, 9271. 9271 is in the box, which you read. I'm on page 4, attachment 1, 9271G, which is in the box, and then we have this all in blue.
Mr. Westcott?
So just to clarify, like you said, both of these go together. The bulk of the change occurs in L4, which is the 9271, right? That's the bulk of the ad. And then L5 is just referring to 138-6, is another part of the code that deals with a similar thing, but it's essentially just saying meet the requirements of L4. So L5 is just more of a formality, make sure that we're buttoning it up, right? That two parts of the code don't say different things. So L5 is just basically saying, this is what you need to do, defer to L4.
Yep.
Thank you for clarifying.
And then just for additional clarification too, the proposed change, it doesn't have anything to do with utility easements or easements. It is strictly from the public right-of-way or adjacent property line.
Can I ask a question? Are you referring to the public right-of-way, though, as you, I mean, the utility easement could be considered public right-of-way also?
It's not really.
No? Okay.
No, the public utility and drainage easement is not a public right-of-way. It's just for the benefit of, right, those adjacent lots to have utilities that serve those lots, essentially, right? Like, just because you have a public utility and drainage easement on the back of your property doesn't mean somebody can walk through your backyard in that easement, right? You know what I mean? That the utility companies can do that because they have the rights to do that. It's not just a public right-of-way, like a street or a sidewalk would be public right-of-way. So that would be like in the front of the yard, people having a downspout or a discharging over a sidewalk, or just discharging directly onto the street, creating a hazard.
Well, I'd like it to say that in it then, that it doesn't include the utility easement, and that it only considers the public right-of-way.
It does.
It does. The definition between the two really isn't there, and I don't want there to be confusion, and I've already experienced one of these previous to a couple months ago, we had this conversation come up. So we have to be very careful when we say public right-of-way, because that also in the front of the yard, you got your public right-of-way, but a lot of time you have utility easements in that public right-of-way. So I think being clear about this is the right way to go. I'll make the motion to amend, or we can make I can make the motion to table till we get the verbiage down on this right. But I don't want to keep coming back, have to come back because we didn't do it right.
Just a point also, this does not affect, if you look at the third bullet point on the screen, it doesn't mandate the existing or be relocated. It's for new, right? Right.
I understand it. So to correct the verbiage in here, I almost think with as long as it is, I'd like to table it and then bring it back, and we can sit down and hammer it out as far as the verbiage, and then we can bring it back.
So Trustee Fiocco made the motion. Are you looking to?
I'll make that motion to table this until we can clarify because I think it's too long to do in this meeting.
Is there a second to table?
Before we would consider tabling, I would like to ask if staff could clarify why they're pursuing this, because I know that there are some benefits to it.
Okay, well, we are in the middle of a motion to table, but is there a staff member who would like to clarify any further sentiments?
I second it. Can I say something?
You second the motion, not the motion to
Correct.
table, correct?
Yeah, well, we haven't gotten past Dan. So.
Right.
True.
Okay, but give me 1 second. Is there any other staff member that would like to make a statement regarding as to why we're doing this? If there's no one, that's okay. Mr. Westcott?
We know existing problems that we have out there, and this is trying to remedy those problems in the future.
This is something that I deal with pretty regularly. I get a lot of calls about these type of things. It's disputes between neighbors. When two neighbors have adjacent properties and they're friendly with each other and they work together and they can install, you know, certain drain pipes to alleviate some of these issues that exist. It's an old village, right? You know, I mean, that's great, but that's not always the case. There's a lot of instances where two neighbors don't speak with each other. Okay, and if one of them's getting flooded out because the other one's discharging their sump pump 2 feet away from the property line, right, there's not enough distance there to allow that water to dissipate. And that's kind of the precipice of this, is to say that when feasible, we pull that distance back to try to avoid those hazards. And that allows us to have a little bit more teeth in that. Because as it sits right now, as long as the discharge is 2 feet away from a property line, that's it. It complies. And 2 feet is, you know what I mean? It's not much.
Trustee Mason?
You just hit on something. I'll help you too. But you said feasible. So you look at Evelyn's North, and we have a 5-foot easement on either side of us. And I know what you're trying to say, but when you have the public works access to the back of it, this is not what we're talking about. We're talking about when it's dumping out into a swale and heading out over the sidewalk to get to a storm drain or something like that, correct? You are going to run into it, Brett, to where they're tighter. But as long as the sub pump discharges shall be directed in approved drainage swell or easement to a storm drain, but not directly into a sanitary sewer or into a public right-of-way. So you're going to get houses that are tighter in some areas, but as long as it's going into a swale and not impeding directly over the public right-of-way, which would be that sidewalk. And I think it reads that way when I get to, hold on, I just had it. I thought it read that way in your, right here. 9271 regulation, when a sub pump or downspout discharges over open land, the sub pump or downspout discharge line shall not terminate within, and it used to say 2, he wanted to say 10, but what do we do when there's only 10 feet between the two houses?
Right, and that's why we added that when feasible.
When feasible, that's it. That's it. I think it meets.
Trustee Consolino?
When I sat on public safety, and I don't know if you received any of these yet, Trustee Mason, but there was a lot of complaints about drainage problems. So I see this as a way of kind of alleviating possibly some of that, or at least a better direction that we can go into. And I've spoken many times with interim village manager Baber about it. So I'm in support of doing something. I think it's pretty well written, but if there's some different verbiage you guys think should be added in here, please say now. But I would like, again, here we are going into winter, we have wet, spring comes after that. It's when do we get to that point where we're going to be more proactive?
Trustee Steilen?
I agree that, I think it's written well enough. I questioned the 2 to 10 feet, and I appreciated the when feasible because I looked at my own discharge. As far as Trustee Fialko's point about the public right-of-way question versus drainage easement, utility easement, I believe that's taken care of in the definitions section of the code. So I don't think we need to add any additional language. I think it's fine with me.
Trustee Reinders?
Actually, I think with the word feasible, with the word feasible in there, I think that actually leaves it open for us to be able to go either way, whether from the 2 feet to the 10 feet. So, and looking at what the what the size of the lots are. This is basically for future development. So there's nothing we could do about what is going on right now. So I think for future development, I think this should work.
So trustee Fialko made a motion to table since there was not a second. Are we proceeding with a motion to approve? There was no, I'm just clarifying, there was no second, right, to table? Okay. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Cancelino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
With hesitation, aye.
L5, consider for approval ordinance number 23-064, an ordinance amending Homer Glen Village Code Section 138-6K 8D entitled Property Drainage. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
So
Trustee Mason, then Trustee Reinders. Trustee Mason?
I think we covered it.
Trustee Reinders?
covered it.
Trustee Fialko?
Covered it.
Trustee Cancelino? Good. Trustee Stylen? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Cancelino?
Aye. Motion carries. Consider for approval a motion authorizing the purchase of a plow vehicle and equipment for Public Works Department. Is there a motion?
I'll make that
So
motion.
moved.
Trustee Fialko first, Mason second. Trustee Fialko?
Before we move forward, what I think, and Mike, maybe you can help us out here, or could you ask Mike to help us out? I think the description needs to be in the motion for the truck that it is, the Ford. On the second page under Henderson, it says Ford F-550 diesel, 84-inch CA, 11-foot body, 10-foot straight plow. And the cost should also be in here, in that motion. Mike, if you don't agree, could you tell us why?
This is a motion to purchase?
Correct.
Correct. The quote, and you're asking me my opinion if that motion to purchase should include, I think on the back,
The description and the price, yes.
the back page, does it have single package 104,965? Total of 104,965, is that
It does.
the price?
And then the description's on the first page.
I think what he's asking is if we should include the description and the price in the motion.
Yes, I think that would be better practice.
So trustee Fialko, you made the motion. Would you like to amend your motion to include the price and the type and the description?
I would. I would like to make the motion to include the description of the vehicle that we're purchasing and the total cost of it of $104,965.
Trustee Mason, would you?
I'm fine with that. It does say it in here. He gives it to us under the description. It shows who it's being purchased from. It shows the make, the model. But I'm fine with that.
Is there any discussion on making that amendment? Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the change.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Cancelino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries for the amendment. Now, is there any more discussion on the actual?
Yes.
Trustee Fialko?
Yes, thank you. I spent a long time talking to Mr. Woods, Director Woods, about this. I do believe we need this, but just so we all know, I know Trustee Mason addressed something earlier as far as the two trucks and here, we ordered the trucks. It's been approved. We're not getting those vehicles. We're waiting on those vehicles. When they get here, when we are going to receive them, we yet don't know. I realize that. But I don't think there was anything in here to cancel that order. Nothing that I read showed to cancel that, either one of those two trucks. It's just including getting this truck that is available right now today. My concerns was one of two things. One, this was ordered by New York. It was canceled by New York, and then it was brought from the company that had it out here, had one other person take a look at it. Now, we took a look at it, and we're saying we can use it. And I believe we can. That Ford F-550 is a great truck. I talked to the mechanic, Jeff Turner, about it. He's okay with as far as work that has to be done on it. The only concern with this is the new technology that is actually electric over hydraulic. Now, I don't know if that's 100% or not, that the electronics override. We don't have any hydraulics, and it's all electronic, or for the main pieces on the truck, it's electronic and we have some hydraulic. The way I understand it, it's electronic over hydraulic. I asked, this also has 1,000 miles on it for the short transportation they had to do between places to get it suited up to be a plow. It includes a lot of things, but I asked if we could get an extended warranty on it, and we were told we couldn't. I asked if we could just get an extended warranty on the electric over hydraulic, and they said they could not do that either. So we covered all our bases. We tried to get what we could, we tried to do what we could do to make it a little bit better because of this new technology. But I think that this is a great opportunity. It's available. I would say when we start using this, we should use this as much as we can in that first year to make sure we exercise it enough where we can, if we have to use the warranty, we're using it. That would be my advice. The other thing that I'd like to ask, and I'll ask you, the mayor, I don't know how many employees do we have in Public Works that would be driving the trucks?
Mr. Woods?
Currently, I have 13 drivers, well, 12, I'm sorry. I have 12 drivers, plus my mechanic who has to come off the road several times during the winter. He takes a route, but he has to come off the road to fix all the trucks when they go down. So in essence, we have 12, but we do borrow one from the parks if we need somebody because we get a call in, or this year we're only going to be using the parks employee if we get a call in because I was notified by the highway district that we will not be doing any of their roads, so we're going to restructure our routes to lose one route.
Okay. The second question I would have would be how many plow trucks do we have right now, and out of those, how many are not functional?
Mr. Woods?
Back page.
Well, we have, let me look here, ones that are actually first line. You want frontline vehicles or everything?
No, whatever, if it snowed out today and we had a really bad snowstorm, how many trucks do you, if you've got 12 employees, would all 12 employees be able to use a vehicle, and what would be your surplus of trucks at that point?
We have 14 frontline vehicles, but 2 of them we're expecting are probably not going to make the full season. As you can see on the, did you see the list that I included in the packet?
Yep.
Okay, so those are the 2 vehicles, and when I say that they won't make the season, what we mean by that is they've already been through, for instance, if you look at the first one on the list, 108, the Sterling. Sterling is non-existent anymore. You can't get parts for this truck.
Okay.
The only reason we keep it running is because we have a dead Sterling in our parking lot that we keep pillaging.
Perfect. I didn't want, that was a great answer. Here's what I'm going to say. I think our ratio should be whatever employees you have, you should always have 3 trucks that are functional in case you have other vehicles that break down. So I think our continued thing in getting you a truck a year until you're satisfied, and we have that ratio of the 12 employees or 13, whatever it would be, and you always have 3 surplus trucks, and we did that for you in 2022. We did it for fiscal 23, and now we're doing, I'm guessing we're going to do this because I really do believe that we need it. In the future, though, the way I understand it, a 550 can basically handle all the streets that we have here. So with those 2 new snow plows, I'd like us to try to get, you know, and spending twice as much on the 2 that we ordered. Maybe we can focus on the F550s for the next couple of years, so you're getting 2 at a time in one fiscal year instead of 1. You know, and then we can build up your arsenal of snow plows to keep you on the road and not broke down.
Yeah, what we were doing is we're alternating between years. This year we asked for a 1-ton and a low pro. We budgeted for a low pro, which we haven't been able to find yet. Low pro is kind of between a 1-ton and the big truck. So we haven't been able to find one of those yet this year, but we did budget for those 2. Next year we were anticipating trying to find another large truck. And the reason being is that the biggest reason for it is that the 1-tons are not capable of carrying the same amount. They have to come back and make more frequent refills on the salt because they can't hold as much as the bigger trucks.
Thank you, Mr. Woods. Trustee Fialko, are you done? Okay. Trustee Mason.
Wow, that was a lot. Bottom line, it's pretty much what I reiterated. I think that public safety and public services, again, supports this purchase. We have had funds available that were budgeted that we're not going to spend because you're not going to get the trailers in time, because I already told you why. I looked at the back page prior. We had plenty of discussion, Mr. Woods. You've got a great mechanic, but when one of these goes down, I think our constituents, our residents deserve to have their streets plowed. I agree with you, Dan, on a couple issues of having extra trailers or tractors or plows available in addition in case one does go down. I'm not suggesting selling this one at all. I'm saying fix it, keep it to the side in case of emergency. Get this one now because it's available and they're not available. And it's at a good rate. 1,000 miles is nothing. That's transportation, you know, Ohio to New York to back here. We have a great mechanic. He does a good job. But this is an aging fleet. If you really look at the description and the codes and the status of these units, you have 7 good units. And we've got 13. We got, what are the routes? What is it, 18 routes?
No, we currently have 14.
14.
We're reducing that to 13 this year.
So we can go into overtime galore and keep running the guys ragged, or we can have the drivers in the trucks. And Dan, to answer your or Trustee Fialko, to answer your question, you can't just get the 550s because it's a smaller unit. It's a smaller unit, it can get into tighter spots. You're gonna have to get some of the bigger units as you move forward. And Brett, you could elaborate on that. We have some of the bigger units that are out there that can handle a lot more work, but some of these smaller ones, like this one, can be very versatile and used year-round. Am I correct?
Yeah, this one we're planning on using it year-round. This will be we were gonna try and get 2 1-tons, but we're gonna just use this one year-round rather than buying another one for the summer.
Thank you.
Trustee Consolino.
Yeah, no, I'm not disputing that we don't need this. This was addressed when we originally budgeted the money for these plows. That came from the American Recovery Act Fund, because it's so much money. It shouldn't be taken lightly. We knew that there was basically leaner times coming ahead and increasing prices. So that's why we agreed to do the purchase on these. My only concern, which I did request from the village manager and I haven't received yet, are the comparables. So I understand everybody says this is a steal, but I was never given any comparable yet. Is there anything available?
We've been looking into getting comparables. Brett, maybe you can.
Yeah, Trustee Consolini, I did try to get some comparables from other dealerships. The only one I had respond to me, I contacted several, the only one I had respond to me is still working on it. They're still working to get it to me. I do know we did get a comparable for a F550 later in the summer, and it was $65,000. This particular vehicle, the chassis is $60,000, so it's $5,000 less. So if you think about this in 2 pieces, the chassis is the most expensive part of it, and that was the $60,000 part. And then whatever the truck cost, it's $45,000 to outfit it with the plows and the spreaders and all of that. So the only one I had available was one that we obtained late in the summer this year, that we didn't bring to the board. Then this came up. This is actually a little bit less than that would have been. But I do have another one. We're trying to get more, but nobody really wants to give me quotes on it when I talk to them.
That's just, thank you for that. But no, that was the one thing that made me uncomfortable is I wanted to see actual comparables for costs because there was nothing except taking the word on the one. We knew that we were getting, from the other administration prior to our board, we inherited an aged fleet. Luckily, we got that fleet for free from the township. So I'm grateful that we got it for free, but yes, there were a lot of vehicles on there that nobody took into consideration when they decided to bring on the Public Works Department that were aging and that we would need to replace. So we unfortunately have to deal with those mistakes now, and I do understand the need that we're going to have to purchase this, so.
Trustee Reinders?
I have a question for Brett Woods. When we purchased the two last year that we still didn't receive yet, did a warranty come with those?
Well, there's a warranty on them once they're delivered, but we haven't even paid for them because you pay for them when you receive them.
Okay, but there is a warranty on there,
There will be on
on the two brand new ones.
on the two, because they were actually 2024s, but they're probably going to be likely to be 2025s now.
Okay, now my next question is, this one is a 2023, and why isn't there no warranty on it?
There is.
There is. It's a 1 year.
Oh, there isn't 1 year, so it's just a 1 year extended warranty.
It's a 1 year warranty.
Did we have to purchase that warranty?
No, that's included in this.
Okay.
And to answer Dan's question, if you want to extend a warranty, it's no different than your own vehicle. You have to purchase that.
Right.
One thing I wanted to add, you talked about electric versus hydraulic. It's both. The electronic systems in it are probably newer and more advanced and helping out, but it's not controlling the hydraulics, which controls the actual mechanisms of the truck.
No, this one is the hydraulic is replaced with electric.
Awesome. Thank you.
Trustee Steinle?
Just saying thank you for being proactive in finding this truck and providing this information, and I think everybody asked plenty of questions.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I would like to thank the trustees for the questions that they had before. I got email questions, I got telephone questions. I would like to thank everyone for that. It actually helps me as well, so thank you very much.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Steinle?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Cancelino?
Aye. I figured out what it is. Can I take a minute recess? I'd like to rule for a recess for just a minute. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, or Sue did.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Steinle?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Cancelino? Trustee Reinders?
Recess. Be back in. Okay, we are coming back from recess at 8:13. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Trustee Steinle?
Present.
Trustee Mason?
Present.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye, present.
Trustee Cancelino?
Present.
Trustee Reinders?
Present.
Mayor Knightsky-Trojke?
Present. I apologize for the brief recess. Lieutenant Taylor, would you mind coming up to the podium just to give a quick explanation?
There's a house fire at 13928 Stone Oak Way in Pebble Creek. Probably vacant, but not sure yet, so we're still working on that fire, still working on putting the fire out. And I will update you if I get anything else.
Thank you. The reason I asked for a recess was I kind of looked down at my phone, saw so many messages blowing up.
It's my neighbor's house.
What's that?
It's my neighbor's house.
And I saw the address and I heard explosion, so I wanted to make sure that Mr. Baber's family was okay and so forth, and so apologize for that. Okay. Moving on to item 7. Consider for approval a motion approving 2 quotes from Reiki Interiors to remodel and improve 2 village office spaces in order to bring them up to date to match the rest of the interior as updated in 2016 for a total of $9,870. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Fialko and Trustee Mason. Trustee Fialko?
This is to complete what was started. This is the same company. We've had good luck with this company in the past. They do a great job. Staff is happy. Previous village managers were happy. Unless I hear something from staff that would say otherwise, I'm all for this.
Trustee Mason?
A while back during a different village board meeting, staff made this recommendation, and I see no issues with it whatsoever.
Trustee Reinders?
They did a great job so far, all the renovations that they've done. Sorry, all the renovations that they've done a great job, so I really think this is great. It'll finish, it should make all the repairs complete then.
Trustee Steinle?
No, just nice to see this being done.
Trustee Cancelino?
No.
I think these are the last 2 offices, so we're going to be complete. I hope Ms. King and Mr. Westcott enjoy your new offices. Finally, welcome aboard. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to item 8. Consider for approval the purchase of a 20-foot pre-lit commercial Christmas tree with LED lights for Homer for the Holidays tree lighting ceremony in the amount of $13,002.99.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Trustee Mason?
Made that motion on purpose. My understanding is there were two different options, and we only see one in front of us today. I'd like to have more background on this. I know that it went in front of Parks and Recs, but I thought, I could have swore, because I've talked to several different people, that there was a second option on the board, and I don't see that in here at all.
Trustee Reinders?
I would, if there was a way, can we amend this motion?
So I did talk to staff prior to today's meeting, briefly right before, and they had asked if we could either remove it from the agenda and put it on new business to discuss all the options. The reason why I left it on was to, make a motion to put it in our new business because we can't talk about other options if we're talking about specifically one tree.
So I would like to amend my motion to include this under new business.
Trustee Mason?
I'm pretty sure I had made the motion.
Right.
I'm sorry, I second, that's right.
She can amend her second. You going to amend your first?
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there any discussion on that? No? Okay. Madam Clerk, please call the roll to amend.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
For amending and moving this to new business, aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Motion carries. And can you call the roll again for the motion?
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye. Yeah, there was a motion to amend the motion, so we approved the amendment of the motion, and now we're approving the amended motion.
Correct.
Yeah.
No, I thought,
Nice job.
may I ask the question?
Sure.
No, we amended it to move it, right? And now the original, we're back to we already made the motion to amend, and we amended it, right? Okay, and we all agreed we're going to move it to new business. Now you're back to the original motion.
No, we're
back to the original motion, and we should be saying no because we're moving it to new business, right?
No, we voted on amending the motion to put it, you have to vote on the amendment first, and then we're voting on the motion that we just amended. So it's not the original motion. No, Attorney, would you please explain?
I'm just trying to digest what we just did. Okay, so my understanding is that there was an initial motion made by Trustee Mason, correct?
That's correct.
And that was to approve as written. Was there ever a second to that motion?
Yes.
There was.
All right. So is there a motion to amend
There
this?
is.
We
There
already
was,
did it,
and we voted on that to amend.
to put it into new business.
Now we're voting on the motion that we just amended. That's how we just did it for two other motions. That's why I'm,
No, I don't believe that we can.
We would vote no at this point.
We would vote no, and it would move to new business.
no, because we're not voting on this motion. We're voting on the amended motion.
We already voted on it.
No, you voted to amend the original motion. That's how we did it the last two motions.
I'm fine with it either way, as long as we move it to new business and we amend it.
So when there's a motion that's made, and then somebody says, I want to amend it to say blah, blah, we're voting on the amendment to the original motion, correct? Yes.
We already voted on it.
Yeah, we voted to amend the original motion.
Yes, to move it to new business.
Right, so we
Now we
made,
would vote no on this to make
we're
sure-
not voting on this motion, we're voting on the amended.
We didn't amend.
I just did it
that's
for
not
two
what we
other
amended.
motions.
Yeah, I believe what the mayor is saying. I understand what the mayor is saying. The initial motion, as it reads, now is asking for the vote for it to go to new business.
Yes.
because she's amending this motion, although it's in the legislative action area, to read that this legislative item now shall be moved to new business. That's what you're saying. And I think that that would be correct.
Roll call.
Correct.
So we're voting on a motion to move as amended.
This motion as amended, correct?
Yes.
Which is to move it to new business.
Make the call.
Good luck, Claire.
Motion
Trustee
to amend.
Fialko.
Yes, as long as that covers what we said.
Trustee Mason.
Yes, I'm amending the motion to move to new business, yes.
And Trustee Stylen.
Aye.
Okay, moving on to item 9. Consider for approval ordinance 23-065, amending Article 7 of Chapter 83 of the Code of the Village of Homer Glen, providing for the control of alcoholic liquor. Before I continue, Trustee Reinders must recuse herself from any discussion or vote. Is there a motion?
I so move.
Is there a
I
second?
will second that.
Trustee Stylen. Is this the big one? Is this the big, long discussion? Okay. Boy.
Yes, I just have one change that I would like to make, and that was, I think it's on the blue, the one that's tracked version. So it's page 14, under item R, where it says video gaming on the premises is not permitted. I'm just asking to change it to prohibited, because everywhere else where video gaming is listed.
What page?
On page 14, item R, hotel licenses, bullet H. It's just a word change. It doesn't change the meaning necessarily, but it just helps to clear up any confusion to be consistent with the rest of the document.
Okay.
So I'm changing from not permitted to prohibited.
So that's a motion to amend, but is there more amendments?
I don't have any more.
Let's keep a rolling list. Trustee Fialko?
I do. You're,
Instead of doing one at a
we're
time.
working on, you're making a motion to amend, correct?
Correct.
To change the word, just to remove the word "the," right?
No, just to change from the words not permitted to the word prohibited.
I see.
Oh, okay.
To stay consistent.
Just, right. So there isn't any confusion that you don't need a permit or something, and it's just a terminology.
Okay, I agree with that, but I want to make sure, before we put the cart before the horse, that we're going to go through this page by page, and we can kind of do this as we go through, because there's a lot of other things that we need to look at in this ordinance as we go through. So what Paul had done in the past is walked us through this, and for each item, when, like Sue wanted to amend this, we amended it, and then we kind of went to the next page, and then when we got, if there were any amendments to the things that are in blue, we would then cover that one item and then move on to the next, because this is very long and lengthy.
It's a very complicated one,
And
too.
complicated. So I'm all for it. Sue,
Okay.
yes, yes.
All right.
Okay, is there a consensus to do it that way, section by section? I mean, we're going to be here quite a bit, but
Either way, because it
Okay.
gets too confusing if you try to do it all at once.
I will handle it, and then when the attorney, if there's attorney questions, we can address the questions to the attorney. Okay, all right. So looking at the supplement sheet, there's committee recommendations. The ED committee discussed and unanimously made the following recommendations: to not limit the number of liquor licenses. Do we agree? Is there a consensus to not limit?
Agreed. Well,
Yes.
it's already limited because it takes 2 ordinances to get a liquor license. You have to add one, and then you give the liquor license. So it's already regulated. So that doesn't make any sense with that being said. And this is going back to a committee that is telling, the public now is going to tell us through a committee what we should do with the liquor license, which I don't agree with. But with that said, and to answer the question, they're already regulated because it takes 2 ordinances to establish one.
Okay, I think what their point behind that was they don't want to say there's only 36 allowed or 37 allowed. I think, so what you're saying is you'd like to continue it the way it is. Make a motion to increase?
But that's not in here as a change, is what I'm saying.
No, so that's status quo. We're just going to leave that as it is.
So it's a moot issue.
Correct.
Okay, so we're not going to listen then. Okay. The next one is to accept staff's proposed liquor code track changes with the addition of background check required to spell out why fingerprinting is done in 83-60. I'm assuming everybody read 83-60, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Did anybody have any questions, concerns of how that was spelled out?
1 second. You said 8360, right?
Yes. It's referring to application for license.
8360.
I believe it's on page 4, 5. I'm sorry, 4 for that section.
4?
It's where all the red lines are in the blue.
There are 2 parts to this, so I'm sorry, I need to
That's
make
okay.
a mark where this is
The
separated.
second half is the changes.
Right. 1, 2, so 8360. Okay. I have no changes on this. I did read through this. I didn't see anything that seemed like that was a problem.
You don't have it? Okay, well, you can share mine. Okay. Next is on October 6th, Gina Marcotte emailed the board and asked them if there were any recommendations. From what I understand, Trustee Fialko emailed back and listed out recommendations, and they were as follows. Number 1, no requirement to live in Homer Glen to apply for or receive a liquor license. Does everyone agree with that?
Well, it says that if you're sole proprietor, that's under the state statute that you have to be a resident, so I don't think we can change that.
I believe that is still listed, but I
Yeah.
think what he's referring to is the rest of the code. So the sole proprietor, right?
It is addressed.
Yeah,
and
okay.
so
It is.
It is addressed. This is why it's going to become confusing, because I'm not the only one that put changes in. There were other changes put in, so we're
We're going to go through them. I'm just going through them one at a time, one change at a
And
time.
we'll go page by page?
Mhm.
Okay, good. Yeah, I think it's addressed in there as far as that goes, as far as what I saw.
Okay.
And we can, let me see, do you know exactly what page that one is on? Because,
It's in a couple different places.
yeah. And
I think it's under the license required.
It's on section 8361.
Page 5.
Of the track changes.
Okay.
Item A under that.
Is it okay if we move on? Trustee Fialko, do you have questions on that?
Well, the change is this provision only applies to liquor license who are operating as a sole proprietor, right? As opposed to a corporation or LLC or partnership. Officers, members of those types of businesses, entities are not required to be residents of the village. So I guess could you ask the lawyer, I want to make sure that you don't have to be a resident, but the way I understand this is if you are an LLC or a corporation, I guess divide it up for us so we understand. A sole proprietorship, an LLC, which is not a company, it's, well, a corporation, it's a limited liability company, and then there is corporation.
Yeah, correct. The reading of the Illinois Liquor Code requires a sole proprietor to be a resident of the jurisdiction that's the applicant for the license. That's the only residency requirement that's imposed by the code, unless the board wants to make a requirement for partnerships.
Can you define sole proprietorship, though?
A sole proprietorship, I mean...
Like a business that would fall in that category.
You know, it's commonly known in business practice is where somebody operates a business under their own name without a corporate entity or a level of protection that's afforded to you by a form of a corporation or by form of a limited liability company, something along those lines. So typically you'll see sole proprietorships. Many law offices operate that way. Some landscaping businesses operate that way, and they would be filing, you know, tax returns and such on their personal income tax.
Okay. So we're not allowing sole proprietors, but as a corporation or LLC partnership.
Well, we can't allow because the state statute doesn't allow, so we can't supersede them,
As far as what?
the sole proprietors.
No, I know.
Yep.
I'm agreeing.
Yep. Okay, the next,
But now, do you want us to cover the rest of that page, or do you want to come back to that page? Because under that line, as far as amending this, there's some things in here that don't make sense, and they weren't covered in that meeting for economic development. And now we knew that we were going to get to some things like this. And one of them that I'm looking at is like B, a person who is not of good character and reputation in the community which such person resides. I mean, who's the judge?
well, technically, from what the state statute says, is that the commissioner has the right to state if somebody has it or not, for any reason they so choose, which I don't agree with. I'm not going to say because I don't like somebody's hair color, I'm not going to, you know what I mean? So that I can see, but that's also in, I don't know if that's wording is in the state statute. I have the state statute right here.
It is in the state statute.
It is?
Yes.
Yeah. I know there was a few of the weird ones that I was like, that's interesting, and then I saw it in the state statute, so.
Okay. There's other things in blue on here, but I'll wait till we get to this.
Okay, so we're going to go back to your recommendations. Number 2 is no fencing or double fencing for any special events that receive a liquor license.
I'm going to withdraw. I withdrew on that, though.
Oh, okay.
Because after reading it, it falls into a category that would be like a business. If a liquor store had an event, they're talking about inside. They're not talking about fest. It has to do with something else different. But in briefly reading it over, it looked like it was a little restrictive at first. But the only part on that is actually the double fencing. Matter of fact, if we go, let's go to that, if you don't mind.
Nope, don't mind at all. Do you know what section that is?
It's going to be under J. It's going to be under J. Because I ran into this myself.
Page 10, special events?
Yes, J, special events, J3, where it says in here, in that last sentence, entirely enclosed by a double fence with at least 4 feet separating each fence row, demarcating the license premises. So to me, I don't think that's necessary to have that in there. I mean, that would be a judgment call on your behalf, honestly, when that takes place. But this is the retail sale and consumption of alcohol, liquor, whenever they would have a special event. So if they moved it outside, that would require the tent, a fenced-in area, but entirely enclosed by a double fence. I would actually like to remove that. I don't mind the fenced-in area part if they're going to move it outside and you require it, but a double fence doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. We're here to promote businesses and help businesses, and I just think that would be an extra expense and a burden to the business that would be trying to do that. So if I could, I'd like to make the motion to amend J3 and remove, put a period after in a fenced-in area, and remove or entirely enclosed by a double fence with at least 4 feet separating each fence row. Demarcating the licensed premises should stay in there, I would think, right after fenced area.
I personally feel like it should be left.
Why?
Just because what's the difference if it's in there or if it's not? It doesn't matter, because if a fence is needed, the commissioner can decide if it's 1 fence or 2 fence. You never know when a situation may arise when you need to. There's no foul in leaving it in.
Have you ever seen an instance where that's been done?
Yes.
Where?
I can speak for Konos Corn Maze. They have a double fence.
All the past Homerfests before you,
There were no double fences.
when we were
And here, for one, I know what road you're trying, here.
No, there's no road.
This J3 doesn't cover Fest. It has nothing to do with Fest at all. So, okay, so you would like to save it for that reason?
Yeah, this is nothing, this is no fest
I'll remove my
related.
motion. I just thought it was a little restrictive to businesses, but if you want to keep it,
And the definition of fence.
No,
you know,
it was the double fence that made the...
Well, okay, the definition of fence is the question that I had. So, in previous things that I was reading, and I didn't see it in here, but I thought it said the state statute where a fence was considered anything that's a barrier. So like a sidewall tent could be one, layer, and then a fence would be a second. So like an actual picket fence or a snow fence or a temporary, like a wrought iron fence. It was along those lines. It's when I understood the definition of fence to be for something like that. So
If you want to keep it, that's fine.
Can I just clarify something? When it says the retail sale and consumption of liquor, that doesn't mean that it's a store. That's a special event wherever it's held. Right?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to remove that as well. Number 3, prorating of liquor license fee by month to month for those applying for the first time, not the semi-annual adjustment. I fully support that. So if a applicant applied halfway through the year, we did it for Blueberry Hill, they did a month instead of prorating it for 6 months, I think it makes sense. Do we all agree on that?
Okay, yeah, that was the one I was.
I agree.
Yes, we help businesses out with this already. I agree with, I just want to see, what page is that one on?
There's a chart on the back.
Deputy Clerk, you're like a pro at this.
Yes, on the very last page, I broke it out, what
Okay.
it would be month by month.
Page
We
17.
prorated it.
Page 17.
Yes, I agree with all of that. I think that's promoting business and helping businesses, and we want businesses to come into Homer Glen, not to be penalized for coming into Homer Glen. So,
All right.
I'm good on that.
So we're going to amend the section, or the code, or the ordinance, I guess you can say, to include item 3 and Sue Stylin's motion so far. So those are the 2 amendments we have so far.
No. Madam Mayor, this has already been, the actual ordinance, the only amendment that you have is Ms. Stylen.
But the motion that we're not including the double fence then, so we have to remove that as an amendment. All right, so remove. So we're removing number 2 as an amendment. Correct?
It was never written into the track changes.
So you're saying that 1 was written in the track changes or no?
I updated, you mean, for Trustee Fialko?
Yes.
Yes, so 1 is included in the track changes, and so is 3.
But 2 was not.
2 is not.
Okay, I didn't see that, so, okay. So 1 is already included and 3 is, so we're good. Okay, so then number 4 was flexibility of businesses to have BYOB option. Was that in the track changes?
That one was not, because I needed more information on that one, because we already have BYOB. And I know that you and I did discuss it a little bit.
Okay.
Yes, we discussed it during the week, and I think the flexibility for that is ready. You and I, matter of fact, talked about it early on, where salons can have BYOB, if we would do that or not. Now, I don't know if that's what you want to amend. I mean, we didn't talk about it except the one time. So at this time, I don't know if there's anything to correct, because it wasn't in blue, and I don't, where is that in the village code?
It's page 12.
Page 12.
Page 12?
So I do have a couple of questions on this. So yes, Trustee Fialko and I did have a discussion. When I go get my nails done or get my hair done, I like when they offer me a glass of wine, 1 glass per service. There is restrictions when they have those sort of things. But this, I think that is different than a BYOB. I think that is something that the establishment should apply for a license, like a beer and wine, like a minimum use. No, because beer and wine is a sale. Like if you can buy a beer and you can buy a wine, with a salon, it's a complimentary drink with with your service.
So, and Janie could probably go into a little bit more depth on this, but a while back, they did bring to the board about allowing salons to have a liquor license to do that. And because I think at the time the board was worried about salons being allowed to have gaming, they did not put it in the code. So if that is something that this board would like to further look at, I could always add that in and then bring that back with the wording of how we could do that and put in a license for salons.
So they don't have the right to sell a glass of wine to a patron. They have the right to offer it complimentary with a service.
And we need to be careful, because once you open that gate, you're also opening it up to gambling.
No.
No, you wouldn't. And it does state in our code that salons, correct, that salons can't have
Okay, all right,
video
just
gaming.
making sure.
Yeah, they don't meet the definition for gaming.
But there isn't like a clear license though where it would allow salons to do that. I know right now salons do.
Excuse me.
Yeah, under radar.
Yeah.
Right.
Back in 2013, the board did pass an ordinance which only lasted for a short period of time because it was repealed in 2015 because of the gaming question issue. We hadn't tightened up the bar that you have to meet or the threshold for gaming yet. So there was a Class O beauty salon and spa license, and it was authorizing the retail sale of wine, sparkling wine, champagne, and beer only for consumption on the specified premises to customers who have purchased a service of a beauty salon and spa.
And there you go,
Okay?
perfect.
So it came with the service.
Yes.
And it also limited to no more than 2
Create a
servings
new
per
license.
customer during any one calendar day. So there was a limit on that because there is no food requirement. with
Okay, now
this.
that, so, can I speak? Now that we've got the gaming issue has been going on for a while, and that's kind of put the rest, maybe could we come back at the next meeting with the
Yes.
language for that?
For the salon, yes, and
so
add
we're
that
not
classification.
Spending an hour here doing it?
Yes, we can do that.
Okay.
So,
Are you good?
yeah, I think that's great. I love that. But is that your
That was
concern for
it.
the BYOB? So I do have a
Yeah.
question on the BYO. What is the definition of meal preparation? So under B, it says meal preparation services in store. What is the definition of that? Because when you say a meal, that's not a restaurant. What is it, a bag of chips?
It's like that concept like dinner by design where you could go in and actually either pick up or prepare your own meals on site. It was a concept in retail that was popular for a little while, but honestly, I kind of think it sort of died out with COVID. You don't see it happening that much, or there are many of those kinds of businesses in operation right now. But at the time we were writing this,
We
were
had
trying
one
to
in the
think
village.
outside of the box.
I can't make the motion, but I would entertain a motion or an amendment to the motion to strike B, because we don't have any meal preparations, and
Can we do that in the ordinance that'll be at the next board meeting though, with the BOB thing that will be written up?
I mean, it's open for discussion if you guys are even interested in that, or
I'm
just
for
leave it
that,
on.
But I think to save time,
We could do that, but what I would like is still to go through it.
Yeah.
And then that way, everything is done and prepared and ready at the next meeting.
So do we need to make a motion then to strike that?
Well, are we doing it at the next meeting or here?
I would just, but I want to say something. Why not just leave it in there? Because what if that option should appear again in the future? I mean,
Well, what
is it harmful to leave it in?
Well, but here's my question. It's bring your own. So me walking into a place that I prepare my own food, and I'm just going to bring a bottle of wine as I'm preparing my meals?
Well, think about like those glitter your palate things, parties that people have. They might bring their own wine to a store and do that.
But that doesn't fall under a meal preparation.
No, but I mean, that's the concept. So if there's somebody opened a business that had that, well, I don't care if it's in it or not, quite honestly, I guess.
I just think that contradicts itself, but we can leave it in. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
I think it can be included in the ordinance for the next meeting that Gina Marcotte will prepare, right, or help prepare with Joe, and we'll cover it at the next meeting. And then if you don't want it, Sue, at that time, we can just say no. And with the BYOB for the rest of it, we can see what everybody wants to do.
That does work.
So yes, the attorney just asked me, aren't we voting on the changes today?
Correct.
So we're voting on changes to this. So to come back.
So this is, what you would have to do is you would have to table it to the next meeting, but at least this way, and then I could bring it back with all these changes that the board wants. And
So
have
today
it
we'll just
updated.
do discussion, then table
Yes.
after discussion, and then you bring back everything we discussed to vote on.
Yes. But at least
Is that
this
what
way.
you guys want to do?
Great, I think that's a great idea.
Yes, but at least this way the discussion's out of the way, and when I bring it back, it has everything that the board wants in it.
Okay. All right. I personally went page by page in this. I don't think, I even read the economic development comments. I read the entire liquor code, the state liquor code over and over. I saw all the track changes. I'm in full agreement with everything that we just discussed today and every word that's in here. Trustee Fialko, I know you and I had a brief conversation prior to coming to the boardroom today. I think we talked about that and squared that away.
Do you want to discuss?
It doesn't matter to me. There was a question if, due to my affiliation with Konos Corn Maze, because on here it says that all managers must be on the license. I am no longer a manager of Konos Corn Maze, and I haven't been for quite some time. So that clarifies any questions or discrepancies that anybody may have.
We are talking about
what?
O.
AO.
The second to last paragraph, the whole item.
Wait, AO, what?
Yes.
What, can you give me
You're
a
on
page?
8361, A, the letter O, and the last, basically, from notwithstanding. And do you mind if I read it?
If you could tell me what page you're on.
Page 6.
Okay. Okay.
So what it basically says is notwithstanding any provision as a subsection to the contrary, a member of the Village Board of Trustees other than the president of the Village Board of Trustees may have a direct interest in the manufacture, sale, or distribution of alcohol liquor as long as he or she is not a law enforcement public official or the Village Board president, which you are. To prevent any conflict of interest, the elected official with the direct interest in the manufacture, sale, distribution of alcohol liquor shall not participate in any meetings, hearings, or decisions on matters impacting the manufacture, sale, distribution of alcoholic liquor. Furthermore, the village president may have an interest in the manufacture, sale, or distribution of alcoholic liquor as long as the village board has made a local liquor control commissioner appointment that complies with the requirements. And if I read it correctly under that statute 235 ILCS 5/4-2 basically says you have to appoint an attorney. But what you're saying, so it's clear for the public, is you are no longer a manager at Konos Farm, which you had been for many, many years.
Correct.
So just so that clears it up for the public.
But I wasn't the mayor for many years, so yes.
No,
I'm no
understood.
longer, yes.
Understood.
Yeah, so there's no conflict. I have no personal interest in the sale, consumption, or anything at Konos. Okay, just for clarification, was there any, I think you can have that back. Sorry, did everybody else read this? I mean, I think, Gina, you did an amazing job on this. Trustee Fialko, I know you pointed out some, differences. I know Trustee Reinders can't speak. Trustee Mason, Sue, or Trustee Silent, and Trustee Cancelino, I know you guys all, read this back and forth. Does anybody have any more, I don't want to go page by page.
We discussed it today, so I'm fine.
Trustee Fialko, does this?
I don't mind if we glance through it just page by page. It doesn't take, there's not that.
I don't, page by page, come on.
No, there's not that much, right?
No, there is, there's quite a bit.
On 4, I agreed with all that. When we talked about 8361A, we cleared that up. It looks like the lawyer already looked at the co-partnership and that description under L. There's change there, a person, okay, and under, actually L, J, K, H, I, J, K, that would be K. They got it down as L, but it's actually K. The next one, L.
What page are you on?
Page 5.
Okay, so here's my question again. I'm not going to go through page by page. Did every trustee go, excluding Trustee Reinders, go through this entire packet? Trustee Cancelino? Trustee Mason?
I did.
Trustee Silent?
I did. I just wanted to make it clear that this doesn't affect the moratorium, and it is possible that when we do the gaming, something could possibly jump out at us, that we might have to come back to this, but other than that, I'm fine.
Trustee Fialko, I see you.
I'm fine with the rest of it. Yes.
Okay, great. So we need a motion to table, so Ms. Marcotte can make those changes.
I'll second.
All right. Yeah.
So I just want to make sure. So everything in here is fine, and then Trustee Stylin's amendment for the language, and then the language or adding in the classification for the salon. And it was just those two things, right?
That is what I believe. And then we were going to look at the 1
and 3
for the meal preparation to see if there's anything if it's needed to stay or not, like what?
The BYO?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure. Thank you.
Okay, is everybody good? All right, Madam Clerk, can you call the roll on the table?
For tabling, Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Mason? Aye. Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Cancelino?
Aye. Motion carries. All right, moving on to old business. Is there any old business? Where's my agenda?
I don't know what order you want to go in.
Trustee Fialko, you can go first.
Am I okay?
Sure.
All right. Joe, we talked about the streetlights in the past and having the sheriff's office write down, where there might be a street light on, passing that on to you. Have we had any success with that, or where are you at with?
Yeah, generally when we get calls about streetlights out, they'll notify us if there's a particular location.
I'm sorry?
We follow up with them as well as residents regarding streetlights.
No, what I'm saying is we were asking that the police on duty at night would jot down where they are and pass them on to you, and you said you would take care of that. I'm just wondering if, I know you're talking 3 calls, we wait before we replace the streetlight?
Well, they would notify us if they came across a streetlight.
Well, there's several of them out, and this is why I brought it up a couple of months ago, 2 months ago. So all I wanted to make sure is that you've got a program in process where you're asking the sheriff's office to jot them down where they see them out, and I think the words I used that day where I'd like to see us be proactive instead of reactive.
Are you talking about streetlights or stoplights?
Street lights, in the subdivision.
Okay.
Because there are a lot of them that are out.
Okay.
And so, and sometimes it's the wire in the ground, sometimes it's the bulb, sometimes it's something. But I just think if the sheriff's helping us out in that regard for safety and for actually public safety, I think it's a good idea to be more proactive with replacing those.
I think
not wait.
I think as soon as a light is out, the residents in that area, we do. We call it in.
Some do.
Yeah, and I would think that the residents would call the village directly, but yes, I agree that the sheriff's...
The residents do call us more often than anybody else.
Okay, any more old business, Trustee Fialko? Old.
We talked about the solicitation decals. Okay, no.
No? Trustee Cancelino, do you have anything for old business?
Yeah, I do. Apparently at the last meeting in my absence and in Trustee Fialko's absence, Gail Schneider, who is a former Homer Township trustee, approached the podium and was discussing false accusations or making false accusations against me and Trustee Fialko in regards to the open space. So my rebuttal on that is, while Ms. Schneider was on the board with Homer Township, she did not protect open space. She rezoned open space property as commercial and sold it off. I believe the meeting minutes were June of 2002. And that is the area that is now the strip mall by Founders Crossing. The legislation that came before us that was voted on by the township last month, where we voted to protect and rezone properly open space for the township. That was the current township officials that did that and protected open space. It was not Gail Schneider. It was not her open space hoax campaign that collected money from residents and has not shown us to date where that money went, what it helped do, because it sure as heck did not protect open space in our township. Trustee Fialko and myself and other people on this board voted to rezone Homer Township open space properly. And we did that to protect it. Gail Schneider did not. So I don't understand what the big fuss is, why she has to throw false accusations. Other than that, we still have people continuing to waste our time at the village board meetings and campaign at our podium. So I don't appreciate the false accusations, and she might want to go and check her voting record as a Homer Township trustee. So, and I want that on the record, so thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Cancelino. Do you have any more old business? Hearing none. Trustee Reinders, do you have any?
Not old business.
Trustee Mason?
No, ma'am.
Trustee Stylen?
Yes, I'd like to respond to Trustee Cancelino. I was living here when open space was purchased, It was purchased under state statute and declared as open space and protected under state statute. And that is what Gail Schneider was saying. What was misspoken and not corrected at a meeting was when Trustee Fialco, and maybe you, claimed that there were only 40 acres of open space. I have before me 4 parcels, 1605, 11400, 025, 000, which is 40.13 acres, was purchased. 1605, 11, 402, 003, 0000 is 10.44 acres of open space. That is also vacant land along with the 40.13. Parcel 1605, 11, 402, 001, 0000 is 5.58 acres. That was also purchased for open space and is now the senior housing. And then parcel 1605, 11, 402, 002, 0000 is 5.05 acres. And that was, which was also purchased. And one of those became might have been the commercial development. The township only protected, rezoned 40 acres of those 70 acres that were, 60 acres that were purchased. One of those, the 10-acre parcel that is, I think that might be, and maybe Director King could verify, I think that 10.44 acres, it might be where the Healing Garden is, which was purchased under the open space, which was not rezoned as open space. And the township never rezoned or did anything with any other open space. So I do not think that they did anything fantastic saving open space. And I will back Gail Schneider up, and those are the facts. The idea of the village, us trustees voting on that was just to kind of do housekeeping. There are only records of 2 parcels ever being zoned to E1. The other parcels were just somehow zoned E1 by when we did some kind of a change to a zoning map. It was never voted on by the board to take it out of ag and turn it into E1 or open space. And you can go back and you can look at the 20 years of records, but that is what Gail Schneider said was factual.
Thank you, Trustee Stylen.
May I address?
Hold on, Trustee Mason, do you have anything for old business? I already asked you that, right? Trustee Reiner's already went around everybody once.
And one was.
Do you have, Trustee Fialco, do you have anything again for old business as you just asked first?
Just to respond to Trustee Stylen. Once you sell the property, it's not considered part of open space. When they took and sold those parcels off, it brought it down to 40 acres. The state statute, the requirement is 50 acres. They changed it by selling the parcels of the property off. Now, you, through that group or whoever, you have a House bill that you wanted to reduce it down to 25 acres for that reason. Now, I've never been against open space, but why this argument continues, even though everybody tried to do the right thing, I don't know why. But I'm going to tell you that is, lawyers gave us that information. I didn't come up with that on my own. I said many times, I don't want to say anything in regards to open space because I'm not educated on it. Where I got educated is with the lawyers. So if the lawyers are wrong and you're right, okay.
So the township sold it?
Point of order.
I'm not done. So the thing is, I mean, to throw me under your bus isn't fair, because that is where the information came from. There would not be a group trying to reduce it down to 25 acres to make it fit into open space if it fit in open space, the requirement right now. But when they sold those parcels of property off, as Trustee Castellino said, you reduced it down to 40 acres. And that comes from the lawyers, not me. So if the lawyers gave me wrong information than they did and you're smarter than them, then okay. But right now, that is the facts that I know. So I'm only talking with the facts I know, and I waited a long time before I said anything.
Okay, hold on, wait, point of order. Everyone had a chance to speak in old business once. Fialco had a chance to speak twice. I'm going to go back around the room. Trustee Castellino, do you have anything for the second time?
No, I think there's a lot of fact versus opinion. So I'll let people decide, because there's documentation out there to support everything.
Okay. Trustee Mason.
Yeah, there is factual information like Sue had dug up and brought to the attention of the board. So Township sold off this property is what I understand. And I'm playing catch up on open spaces, but when you sell off property, that's not protecting open spaces. That is not the goal when you build anything on open spaces. So you're trying to say that her information is non-factual? Well, I'm sitting here looking at the numbers right here because I can see them over my shoulder, and I've never heard Sue ever tell a lie, so I back her 100% of the way.
Trustee Stylen, do you have anything addition or to add? To
Yes, I do. It is factual. I don't know where the attorney got his information. My information came from the Will County Supervisor of Assessors website. I looked up each individual parcel, and the ownership of each of those parcels that I just stated is Homer Township. So that property was never sold off. So maybe they're hiding something, I don't know. But there were 40, 50, 60 acres purchased, and there are still at least 50 of those that are vacant without anything on them.
So Trustee Reiner, excuse me, Trustee Consolino. Sue, are you done?
Yeah, and I just invite you to go ahead and look at the Will County Assessor's website, so I don't know why.
Founders Crossing never
Trustee
belonged to Homer
Reinders,
Township.
do you have anything for old business to add? I would just like to say, Trustee Reinders, thank you for working with me the last few months. It's been nice. Moving on to new business, hoping we can put the old business behind us. For new business, I'm going to start. I forgot to talk about this during the my mayor's report, but there's going to be a Santa parade this year, which I know the events staff is putting together. December 2nd? 9th, I was close. December 9th, Santa will be there. And we're working out the details. All the trustees and staff are welcome, or however the event staff want to run it, and Jackie will give us an update hopefully soon. The other thing is we need a consensus to cancel November 22nd and December 27th. Do we have a consensus to do so?
Dates were those?
I'm sorry. Yep, November 22nd, it's right before Thanksgiving, and then December 27th, which is right after Christmas. Do we have a consensus to do that?
I agree, yes.
You agree?
I agree.
Trustee Consolino?
Sure.
Mason?
Agreed.
Stylen? Okay. So it's just a consensus, no vote. And then another thing I want to talk about is I know there's been some like chatter about how I run these meetings. I'm just going to be brief. Whoever makes the first, that's who I call on first to speak. Whoever makes the second, that's who gets to speak second. That's Robert's Rules of Order. That's how it goes. And it's usually they get one turn to talk, and if so allowed to have a second time, if it's a big discussion, they can speak twice. I try my hardest to keep track when discussion gets long and it gets, argumentative. It's hard to follow along of who I called on once upon a time. So I try to bounce from person to person. I don't intentionally try to leave anybody out. I've left Sue out, Trustee Stylen. I've called people by their first name by mistake too. I mean, I make mistakes. So I just wanted to clarify that, so I don't want anyone to ever say that I purposely left them out. And then the last thing is under new business, the Christmas tree. I'm not going to say holiday tree, it's a Christmas tree. Jackie, would you like to come up and talk about your tree? Thank you.
Oh, yes. Okay, so I'm going to start by last week, why there was only originally one tree presented in the agenda. This came last week, Tuesday. I was asked about looking into getting a tree for Homer for the Holidays instead of using like the pole that we use with the string lights, actually having a real or artificial tree so it's more Christmassy. Due to the time being, I had to get it to the Parks Committee by Friday, and on this agenda, we went with, I was just looked into the artificial tree. So that's where I found this 20-foot tree. It's commercial grade for $13,000. So I know, right, everyone was looking at sticker shock and like, oh, but it is, it has over 4,700 lights on it. It is weatherproof and can withstand being outside. It also has a cone-shaped, if you look in your packet, like structure, so it won't fall over because it's over 1,000 pounds. So this is, and actually the price is pretty good for that size tree and what we would be getting. So that is what I presented to the board. I then talked to Parks Coordinator Jennifer Vittori. She is able to get a 28-foot tree planted next week that we can use instead of the artificial tree. So that was presented after this was put on the agenda. That's why it's coming up now. So we can go that route as well.
How much is the Christmas, or how much is the real tree?
$2,500. It's coming from Wisconsin. They have to dig it up, bring it here, plant it over there. Myself, Trustee Reinders, and Stylen, and Jennifer went out there to the park with the Parks Committee and picked a location for it. So we already know where it's going. It was just a matter of fact of whether or not we could get it here by next week and then decorated in time for Homer for the Holidays.
So this would be through a large truck spade, so it would pick it, plant it, and that tree's likely survival is what?
Oh, good, I guess. I don't know. That's a question for Jennifer.
That's what I'm looking for. I mean, we love the trees, right? So if we can
Yes.
actually get a real one.
She talked to somebody, she has a guy, so yes, it would
Okay.
hopefully survive.
With respect
So
to...
the likelihood is yes.
Yes.
With respect to Trustee Stylen and Trustee Reinders, since they've worked very hard with you on this, do you guys
Yes,
have any
in a week.
sentiments on this matter?
I would just like to say that at Parks Committee, we did not know that we were able to get a real tree. So this was going to be our other option, was to get an artificial tree. The committee basically recommended a real tree. All of us were in favor of the real tree as a priority. But then we weren't sure if we were going to be able to get it in time. So we said we wanted to have at least a Christmas tree, because we've been lighting those strings of lights out there for the last couple of years, and there's really no tree. It's way far in back in the active core. So it was just like, come on, we got to have a Christmas tree this year. So, but the committee did recommend, we all were in favor of a real tree. And it is coming from a nursery. The tree is 28 feet tall, and they will dig it up there and they will replant it here. And the area that we're looking at is just basically to the east of where we have the tree in the center of the corridor of the active core. It'll be right there. Like, we had the skeleton there and some little bit of verbiage out there this year for the haunted park. So yeah, it's going to be beautiful. It's actually visibly accessible from all actually all the way around in the park. Yeah.
I still want to buy the fake tree, that's just me, and put it up somewhere else, but.
My environment. Trustee Stylen, you were next on the agenda list.
Thank you. And it is also my understanding that Rick Gomez from Instant Shade will be handling this, who has done not only just recently the trees in the park, he has done this before. In past tree lightings, we have moved an evergreen tree a couple times, and it did survive, and then later may not have survived, only because I think it was not cared for. And this will be in our park, and we do have an arborist on staff who will be looking after the tree.
Trustee Consolino?
Thanks. No,
Thanks for
my
this meeting.
environment committee was never informed about it, but I can tell you wholeheartedly, and we just met yesterday, so the notice would have been appreciated. I can tell you that they would have wholeheartedly wanted to go for a real tree, because that is our mission with the environment committee. So please keep us in mind next time.
That did
when it
come
comes
up,
to
but
that.
just because of how this transpired last Tuesday and the time constraints with everything, I had to get it on the packet by Friday. I couldn't come to your meeting yesterday and then get it on today's agenda, so.
Thank you.
That was that.
Trustee Fiocco?
Point of delivery for the artificial tree, did they tell you how long it would take for that to get here?
It would ship out in 5 to 10 days.
That fast? So they've got them in stock?
They do.
Okay, and then with the live tree, I think that is the better option, but did we talk to Parks and make sure if it gets to be a certain size, are we limited with the size and then being able to decorate it, or it doesn't really matter how big it gets, they'll always be able to decorate?
Jennifer took that into consideration when picking the tree and talking to him. She took that in consideration with her arborist background.
And she said that, she also indicated that that they have the bucket truck, so.
So in the long run, that's saving us money by going with the real tree.
Yeah, we just got to get
I
some
like
lights, but we should be good.
Different size scissor lifts help you, and we actually have scissor
But if you
lifts.
have to rent that.
Of course, we have them currently already. And at 28 feet, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. Yeah, she guaranteed that it would, she guaranteed us, me and actually Jackie, today that she will have it decorated and lit up.
I have a question on the bucket truck. Do we have a bucket truck? I believe the township has one, and we have to ask them permission to borrow.
Correct.
And
Because Public Works doesn't get that high, and it wouldn't reach the top, so we would have to either borrow or rent.
Mr. Woods, what's the size of the scissor lifts that we currently have?
Well, the scissor lift won't, the scissor lift is not going to go up that high. The lift truck that we have, I'll have to get you the height of that. The truck we have, but the scissor lift we have.
I know it won't work because Jennifer said it's not tall enough to do the mug that goes outside, the cocoa mug that's got the little froth that goes up top. It's not tall enough to do that. So it probably would not do a tree.
And in our agreement with the township, do they have to give us usage of the bucket truck?
Yes.
Yes, they have to. Okay.
Yes, I am contacting them to make that happen.
Can I finish up? No, with what I kind of wrote.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I appreciate everybody putting their input in, no problem. But if we could find a used bucket truck, ComEd sells them all the time, the used bucket trucks. What it is with the scissor boom, it only goes straight up. Trying to reach into onto an item that's got an angle to it would be difficult and unsafe, more than likely.
Oh, I'm on the ground level.
So maybe in the future, in addition to the tree, we can look at a used bucket truck, whether it's from the township or from ComEd as a exit when they sell them off at their auction. I don't know. They're just a thought.
Sure, I could probably leave that to Mr. Woods here.
I'd like to see the live tree.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Anything else?
So I think the consensus is for the real tree for $2,500, I think you said it was? Yeah, right? Okay. Is there any more new business, Trustee Mason?
I have some new business.
Okay.
Do we need to take and make that a motion?
I don't think we can make a motion on it.
Well, we amended the motion to include it in the discussion.
But it wasn't on the agenda, it was to purchase the tree, not to purchase the 18, what's that?
Say no to this one.
Say no to what?
On the artificial tree.
Yep.
Do we have to vote on, is that we moved it to new business?
You moved it to new business, you can't vote on it, new business.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It was a
Yeah.
consensus.
Yeah, so it's just a consensus. If it's only $2,500, Mr. Baber can approve that without board approval.
Without the consensus.
Yeah, without a consensus, so. Yeah. We could put it on the consent agenda if we wanted to for next board meeting.
Absolutely.
Okay. It's after the fact, no. Oh, yeah, it is after the fact. Well, Mr. Baber can make that decision since it's below $5,000. Mr. Mason, Trustee Mason.
Yes, I have some new business. Bottom line, I keep hearing about the lawyer fees. When we drag meetings on and beat things to death, I think that helps to increase those lawyer fees. I wanted to mention that Trustee Reinders has been doing a great job, and it's been a privilege. When the last meeting we had, we breezed through here. I've never seen it move so fast. I wish more of them moved that way, and then we could quit screaming about the fees. We can't blame somebody who gives us a service for, and I apologize to the staff for dragging this on so long. Some of this stuff we're supposed to read at home. Some of this stuff we're supposed to ask the questions. And I know Trustee Fialco is asking a lot of questions, which is good, but I think we need to clarify it and have our conversations amongst each other before we get here, because 4 and 5 hour meetings don't help. I think there's a lot of animosity between some of these trustees on this board. I think their interest is more in the township than the village that they're supposedly serving. And I just want to get that out there. I feel it. I know that at certain times, these meetings can go like this, and then at other times, they just drag on forever. That's it.
Trustee Silent, do you have anything for new business? No. Trustee Reinders?
Yes. I would just like to make everybody aware that Goodings Grove is actually going to be putting in their new playground, so kudos to them. They're getting in addition to their playground that they already have. But I would just like to caution everybody to kind of stay away from the playground. If you have any kids that that are at the school, to please kind of just warn them that it's going to be under construction. They're saying, excuse me, they think that everything's going to be completed by November 22nd, but it is a safety concern right now. So just if you have any little kids that go to the school, please just make them aware.
Thank you, Trustee Reinders. Trustee Fialco?
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Just to answer Trustee Mason a little bit, I know you want to cut down on time, but I kind of looked at the time when you started, when it was trustee time, and your history lessons that you're given are a little lengthy. So if we want to throw anybody under the bus for time constraints, you might want to focus on that a little bit. Not that I mind, but being that you brought it up. As far as the billing for this village, 1/3 of that bill looks to be about dissolving the township, which is your baby, not mine. So when you talk about legal bills, make sure you're reading them all, because if you want to try and throw someone under the bus for something, be correct. And I wouldn't have said this to you had you not just said what you said. So the thing is, the township billing for dissolving the township, which you want, is a huge portion of that bill. So take that into consideration. The next thing is the last meeting. Besides, here, we all get emotional. I understand that. And we are passionate about the things we do and the things we want. We all want the best for the village. There's nobody here that doesn't want the best for the village. But sometimes this conversation led into the last meeting, God's name in vain was used. We got rid of invocation.
Oh, boy.
And then we used God's name in vain. Even YouTube blocked it out in the end. And I would say, and I'm not saying anybody's name, who said it or whatever, it doesn't matter.
It was me. I said it.
Here, but the thing is, why can't we just not use swear words like that? In my house, that was the only swear word I told my kids never to say. So the thing is, if we could just be a little more, use that decorum where we're not using swear words like that, especially in our emotions. And I'm not saying you were wrong, since you admitted that, because it was an emotional time for you. I get that. But you know what? Maybe we could kind of back off on at least that swear word.
You know what? Okay, I'll let you finish.
But I just think that we are passionate, and sometimes things get away. I know I get passionate. Everybody on this board gets passionate. But when we all come together and we work together, kind of like we did today, I think we do a good job. But as far as using those kinds of words, I'm begging the board not to use those kinds of words. Thank you.
Trustee Castellino, do you have anything for new business?
Yeah, when it comes to the lawyer's bills, I've looked at a lot of them very carefully, and I looked at all the other ones previous to this very carefully. We are paying the most, or the highest, billing amount for an attorney in village history, and I mean hourly wage on top of that. Okay, and so when you also look at it, if you look at the time that's dedicated towards the meetings, it's this compared to this. So it's apples to oranges. So when reviewing that, the majority of the attorney's billing, like we didn't even make it public last time because they claimed attorney-client privilege. So the majority of it was backdoor dealings that even board members didn't know about. When I questioned it, I was shut down. So yeah, there's no transparency with this. We're stuck with these exuberant bills. I'm not going to agree to pay them. I'm sure you guys will at every single meeting, because you praise it every single meeting. But you were also the same people that were screaming to the high heavens about how costly our other attorney was. So, you know, it's tit for tat. I don't feel like arguing. I'm just going to point out the facts. The numbers prove it.
Thank you, Trustee Galino. Okay, my turn. So I did review the attorney bills because Trustee Reinders, and quote me if I'm wrong, I pulled you aside today or yesterday, I can't remember what day it was, but I said I am not in agreement to these bills. They are rather high and I want to dissect them. Is that not what I said to you?
No, it's true.
Yeah. So we did. So Mr. Baber and we dissected the bill, and since everybody wants to know about the township dissolution, that wasn't my idea to dissolve the township. It was brought up at another municipality board meeting, and it was brought up here, it was brought up everywhere. So yes, I have to go about what is being said out there. I have to, you know, battle what people are saying when they're constantly lying and making up garbage statements of lies that I said or did. And I also had Trustee Reinders testify to that as well. The dissolution part of this attorney's bills was $4,040. There was a lot of work that went into it. It was a cram all the information in as much as we can. I just received information on it today. I have it right here. I was going to make copies of it. I literally got it right before we came to the board meeting. 1414 was for planning cases, $2,305 for Hadley Road, $2,521 for board meetings, which is very expensive since we're here all hours of the night. We have water and sewer, we have 150, we have ordinances, we have miscellaneous, we have nonstop emails, we have battles of what was said, road transfers of this, I mean, there's so many things happening right now. So yes, our bills are going to be high. Do I like it? No, of course not. Trustee Fialko, yes, I apologize for using the word God in a moment of defending myself when people are rallying others to come here and ask for my resignation. Yes, I was passionate about it. I don't apologize for being passionate about it, but if the word God offended you in the way I used it, damn does not bother me. So whatever it may be.
It's bad.
Okay, thanks for the decorum lesson. But I believe I'm probably one of the more mature at this dais. I don't scream, I don't yell, I don't go run to Facebook, I don't cause fights outside, I don't do those little things that some tend to do. So I'm going to ask from now on that this board please try to keep their personal matters away from this dais. We have lots of work to do. As you can tell what I just stated, Trantina Farm, moratoriums, township deeds, brick mailboxes, board meetings, boundary agreement, IAW, OMA, engineering, education, union, 150, the list goes on. There's so much that we're doing. We're doing a lot more than I remember the last few boards have done. And I'm not just saying the last one, I'm talking about all boards. We are getting things done. So please, leave your personal matters out there. Okay, now, we're moving on to a fun workshop. Oh, sorry. Sure.
Briefly?
Yes.
I just would like to add what the mayor had shared with everyone. Again, I could speak from my experience with the various tasks and requests that I personally have received from staff and from the dais here. There are a multitude of legal issues that are ongoing in this village. Multiple IGAs, intergovernmental agreements between multiple parties, the Village of Lockport, boundary agreements, wastewater treatment agreements, agreements with Illinois American Water. We're talking a voluminous amount of material and issues that are currently presenting this board and this village. When you look at legal bills, you look at what nature of work are we being asked to do. And I just touched on a myriad of issues that myself personally have been asked to do since I've been here. Which is quite exhaustive, and there's plenty more. So when we look at legal bills, we need to look at what tasks are the attorneys being asked to do by staff and by this board, and the time it takes us to do it, and the rate. Those are the three things that we look at. We certainly are not sitting in our offices typing and just figuring out, working on random things at no direction from anyone. I can speak for myself personally, I'm either given direction from the managing partner of our firm, or members of the staff here, or the mayor's office to provide the work that I do. So when we look at the totality of legal services that are being performed, look at the tasks that we're being asked to do, number one, the time that it's taking us to do it, the quality of work that we're doing, and last but not least, the rate, before we say that everything that we're doing is excessive. And I wanted to say that because there's been a lot of questions that have been asked of me, and I wanted to respond to that to the best I could.
Thank you. Okay, workshop. Economic Development Director Janie Patch will be presenting the workshop Marketing, Brand, and Gateway Signage. She's got a wonderful presentation for us, which I saw was 82 pages, but she's going to whip through that super fast, right?
I am.
All right.
Okay, so the workshop tonight covers two related topics, branding and signage. And it is to provide background for the board's consideration of some action items that follow this workshop.
I'd like to call a point of order right now. Mike?
What's your point?
My point is, I want to make sure, before we go any further, because this is a workshop item, and we have it under a motion to approve something during a workshop. Now, I have never seen this take place before, where we've taken and approved something through a motion that was separate into a workshop. Mike, if you tell me that that's the way it can be done, I'm fine with that, but I want clarity to know that that's the fact.
It's a workshop action item.
Trustee Fialko, I have not seen it done that way. Whatever the prior practice of the village would be, would be the appropriate modicum to follow. Unless there is a resolution or an ordinance that allows for it to be done this way or prohibits it, certainly by adopting the motion at this stage, I don't think that it would fail or that there'd be a challenge to it based upon going out of order in the process. But there may be something else out there by way of practice that's inconsistent with this, or by way of ordinance that's inconsistent with this. But there's nothing hardline that would say you can't do it this way.
I've never seen it this way either, but I don't believe our ordinance even includes a workshop action item.
We did it at the last meeting. The Parks did it at the last meeting.
Well, that doesn't mean it was right.
Yeah. All right, that was the precedence right there. But I don't believe our ordinance, because I remember when we went through the agenda items, we can move it? No, yes.
Madam Mayor, if you would like to, you can entertain a motion to perhaps move it to a new agenda item for next meeting, or however you want to do it. But it does seem to be out of place where it currently is. I think that's what Trustee Fialko is asking me.
But according to Joe, not to interrupt, but according to Joe, we set a precedence last time because we did do this with parks.
And also,
I would rather the attorney's opinion on that.
but what we did do is we said with possible action in the motion.
I do believe our ordinance, though, we have an ordinance of how the agenda should be.
Yep.
I don't recall workshop action item being a subject or a, yeah, I don't recall that even being in there. I mean, if we could pull up the ordinance real fast, I don't believe it's in there. So my suggestion is to have the workshop and move these items to legislation for the next meeting.
Thank you.
That's fine, yeah. We can still have discussion on all of this in workshop, and then maybe we can answer all the questions, and you can do it in one thing, and where we go. Yep. All right. All right, workshop. Continuing on with workshop. Thank you, Trustee Fialko.
Okie doke. So we'll start off with an update on the village's marketing brand. This slide shows the primary brand mark with the tagline. The village board approved the marketing brand mark and the brand guidebooks, or the brand book for easy, on October 14th, 2020. Following board approval, the village immediately began to use the new brand and applied for service trademark protection. The primary brand mark was registered with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office on April 5th, 2022. The process of developing the new marketing brand was the result of many village stakeholders and residents coming together to share their thoughts with the project steering committee, the village board, and the consultant designer team. Multiple touch points and opportunities for engagement with the community, the CED committee at the time, and the village board took place throughout the entire process. Feedback from public engagement informed the design process about the experience in Homer Glen, what makes Homer Glen authentic and unique from surrounding communities. A description of the brand promise evolved from this interaction with residents, and I'm just going to read the brand promise. The village of Homer Glen is an oasis in the midst of busy suburban communities. Open space abounds, and the outdoors is where the community comes together. As a young municipality, the village wants to embrace smart growth and make decisions that will stand the test of time. The result of the design process is a new brand mark. The tagline can be added when desired. You know your home came directly from residents during the discovery process. Identity standards ensure the integrity of the brand mark. PMS colors and options for the correct use of the brand mark are spelled out. Appropriate clear area and minimum sizing are identified. Typography is another important tool to convey brand personality. The brand guidelines provide standards for the correct and consistent use of the village seal as well as the new marketing brand. The marketing brand does not replace the village seal. Rather, the brand guidelines show how the seal and the marketing brand can actually work together. A matrix identifies the different applications for use of the seal and the marketing brand. For instance, the seal is used in legislative and clerk documents, and the brand mark is used in operational and marketing materials. There are print standards for letterhead and business cards, and other operational uses, including village vehicles, departmental logos, and staff uniforms. PowerPoint slides for meetings and the village website, options and the appropriate use of imagery for advertising, and how the brand mark can be cropped and used in marketing and promotional items. A seasonal palette is identified, and examples of seasonal marketing materials are provided. The brand book also provides sub-brands, including economic development and the 3 business districts. Design development for gateway signage was also accomplished using a horizontal format and options for a vertical format gateway. Rollout of the marketing brand has been extensive since the approval in October 2020. The following are some examples. The village homepage and website, village social media, business cards, village letterhead and envelopes, email signatures, public works vehicles, other staff vehicles, staff uniforms, the PowerPoint slide deck design for meetings, the village newsletter, business news updates, the tent for community events, events flyers and signs, and at Homerfest. Examples of the economic development sub-brand rollout include the economic development webpage, the online inventory of commercial spaces and properties, various marketing pieces like this recruitment brochure, a pitch sheet used at deal-making events, marketing of featured opportunity development sites, e-blast sent to brokers, developers, and business owners for recruitment, advertising in real estate industry publications, that's both online and print, and various business assistance pieces such as this one on how to open your business in Homer Glen. Another extension of our marketing brand rollout is the Village Gateway and Wayfinding Signage Program. To date, 2 projects are completed, the Western Gateway on 159th Street in front of the Gas and Wash, and new park entry signs for 12 village parks. This is the list of additional projects envisioned to complete the system of branded village signs. The first 2 are priorities that the Economic Development Committee has identified, and I'll go into in just a bit here. An Easter Gateway on the 159th Street corridor, a Village Hall facility signage, and then in addition to those recommendations, to round out the program, it would be a Bell Road North Gateway, vertical format gateways in other locations, the opportunity for a village informational sign on village-owned property at 151st and Bell. We have village-designated open space signs, so there's an opportunity for a sign to designate that kind of area, the open space land, as well as an internal wayfinding system in the village. Let's take a look at the Eastern Gateway on 159th Street. Here's an aerial of the gateway area at Wilcook Road. The Economic Development Committee recommends the 159th Eastern Gateway as the first priority for the current budget year. This slide shows IDOT's plan for the improved roadway with the right-of-way in yellow. The widening of the road challenges placement of a gateway sign in this area. IDOT typically does not permit signs in the right-of-way. The action item following this workshop, well, it would be, but it'll be next month. It'll be to request the board to consider directing staff to initiate sign easement negotiations on private property for the Eastern Gateway. Design development is complete for either a large or small format horizontal gateway sign to match the western gateway. The next set of slides run quickly through some of the placement options for the 159th Eastern Gateway. Here is the Cemetery Street view and aerial on the inbound side at the intersection with Will Cook Road. There are no real placement options here without IDOT approval, and there is not enough area for more than a vertical format sign. The median in this location is also narrow. It's just about 12 feet wide, so this is not a practical option. The corner in front of the speedway offers enough area if a private easement can be negotiated. However, this location is on the outbound side of the road, and the Economic Development Committee does not favor this site for that reason. Just taking a look at the other options along the corridor here, there's no good option for placement along the Sandbox Schools frontage, again on the inbound side of the road. Richards Building Supply is the first property on the correct side of the road with potential for a horizontal format gateway sign. There are at least 2 potential locations here near their eastern driveway and here on the landscape island for the frontage road connected to the gas station at Twin Lakes Drive. Looking still further west on the inbound side, the frontage west of Twin Lakes Drive, it's about 1/3 of a mile away from the border at Will Cook Road. IDOT has a detention easement here, as well as there are multiple utility easements through this area. The underlying property owner would need to grant a sign easement, plus there would have to be sign-offs from the others if trying to locate in the utility easement. As the first priority for the current budget, the Economic Development Committee prefers placement of the Eastern Gateway sign on the inbound side of the road and starting with Richards Building Supply for sign easement negotiation. Moving on, the Economic Development Committee recommends design development of Village Hall facility signage consistent with the marketing brand as the second budget priority. Note that design development is needed. This is an action item, well, for the December meeting. This would include a replacement wall sign and a new monument sign at the eastern entrance to Heritage Park. Location of the monument sign without conflicts is possible at the east entrance based on the village's plans and initial review by engineer Westcott and H.R. Green. Here's a street view of the potential placement. The ED committee further recommends a message center within the monument sign using changeable lettering designed for future conversion to digital messaging when appropriate. Please note the committee's recommendation does not push digital signage at this time. It is a recommendation to be capable for future conversion whenever that may be appropriate. The last set of slides quickly reviews the balance of projects envisioned to complete the gateway and signage system. This includes replacement of the Bell Road North Gateway, for which sign design is complete, and vertical format gateways at other locations. Design development is also complete with 2 design options. These are renderings depicting how vertical gateway design options would appear along the roadway. There is more work at the ED committee level regarding the vertical gateways, and we will return to the board with recommendations in the future about that. As I mentioned earlier, there's an opportunity for a village informational sign on village-owned property at the northeast corner of 151st and Bell Road. This is just a preliminary concept for illustration. Design development would definitely be needed. And it's just another optional illustration with dual posts instead of a monument-style base. A sign designed for village-designated open space that I mentioned earlier would help round out the signage system. And this is the village-owned open space at Onondaga Trail. And lastly, an internal wayfinding system is also envisioned for future budget years. So I appreciate your attention and opportunity to present this information to you, and hopefully it will give you some context for consideration of items next month.
That was a very quick 82-page presentation. I appreciate it. You did a great job.
Thank you. My pleasure.
So we're still in workshop mode, and we discussed not going into the action item process of it, but what I think this board should do is just kind of look at the action items that are on there and maybe discuss them right now. You just talked about adopting the official marketing brand. I know that that was the goal in 2020, but I don't think the official adoption had taken place, right?
So the action in October 14th, 2020 did approve the marketing brand mark and the 90% brand guidelines. And then between staff and the developer, there were just some very non-substantive, and I can even identify what those are, but very non-substantive minor changes to finish the brand book and make it complete, and we were done. In bringing all of these recommendations about a signage program to the board, it needed to be put into the context of branding for you. So it made sense to present information to you about where we're at with our branding program right now and our rollout and implementation. And in the process of looking at that, I also checked to see, because it was done by a motion and vote in 2020 to approve the brand, did we actually need a resolution? And our attorney answered that there's no question the village has adopted the marketing brand, and the vote could stand on its own. But for record-keeping purposes, I would advise that a resolution be passed. So that was what generated putting the resolution together, and just, she goes on further to say, adopting a resolution memorializes the action in its own separate document and makes it easier to locate. The minutes are very, it's just the motion and how the roll went. Without detail. So the resolution actually spells out everything that happened and gives you reference so that you can find things in the future if needed. So it's more of a housekeeping consideration. And that's all I have to say about the resolution, unless there's other questions.
So I struggle with this. I'm not gonna lie. Because I don't like the new logo. I don't like the branding. I don't like the new way it went. But at the time I was a clerk, I didn't have it to say so, but it is what it is. We can't change this now. I know some people don't like the half leaf. They say it looks like a shark's fin. I get the concerns, but this is basically what was adopted back then. So we're pretty much stuck with this.
We paid for it.
And we paid for it, it's all done, everything's good to go. So what was the first motion, which was the first motion that was supposed to be under the workshop action items, is a cleanup issue. So it's not really anything if we agree or disagree, it's just a cleanup thing. So just to discuss that. The next thing on there was entering into an easement negotiations with the 159th. If you guys were watching the slideshow, there was the gateway sign. I think it's very strange to have a gateway sign in front of Richard's Building Supply, which is roughly like 30 feet in, and it's like 600 feet from the actual entry. But I also think it's very strange that you have an entry sign on the opposite side of the road, because when I drove through other towns, it's all on the right side when you're driving on the right side of the road. But in hindsight, if it was up to me, which it's not, I only vote unless there's a tie, I'd prefer to see it on the corner of our entry, whether it be on the left or the right, than 600 feet down and 30 feet in. Is it 600 feet down and 30 feet in?
Yeah, the closest point at Richard's Building Supply is about 560 down.
Yeah, and then it's just strange because they have their own sign. Are we butting up to their sign? It just doesn't seem right to me. But again, my personal opinion, I don't even like the sign to begin with. So I mean, either way, what do you guys think? Thoughts? Workshop. Let's chalk it out.
Well, I'm glad you said it because I don't like it either.
I don't mind it.
Agreeing.
I don't mind the design. I think it looks okay, and I even like the uprights, the smaller ones, so you don't obstruct the view. I like it that when we have something and we've already paid for it. My problem is, what are we going to pay for it? Where are we at with that? Because this is...
Because the prices had to have increased by now.
I'm sure.
Janie, you did get a price like a price range, right, on the signage? I remember we talked about it briefly.
Well, we haven't updated prices because we wanted board direction before we went out.
So the gateway sign at the time was roughly what?
So the Western Gateway, which is a larger format horizontal, the sign itself was $46,000, but all in with everything, landscaping, electrical, all of that, was $60,000.
$60,000, and what's our budget?
That included putting.
And our budget was roughly 90?
Two new trucks, Brett.
Janie, I apologize. How much was our budget?
The budget right now in this current year is $90,000.
So basically we're looking at one sign.
Well, it depends. We also have a small format horizontal sign, and we have not had that priced out. And so I really don't know until we have the green light to go and actually check on bids what that could cost.
So we have $9,000 right now that is already allocated.
90.
Oh, 90.
Yeah.
All right, I misheard you. Okay.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't mean you have to spend it, but what were the upright signs that do not block the visibility? Because I agree with the mayor that we cannot get close enough to our entryway. And if that's the case, and they are on the right side of the road almost 90% of the time. Our first gateway sign is on the wrong side of the road.
We had no option on the Western Gateway.
I got you.
All right, so I guess the discussion is, do we like a gateway sign?
No, not for $50,000.
So
not there.
Instead of a gateway sign, is it possible, because I understand we're limited in space on Will Cook and 159th on both sides of the street, but I agree with you, Madam Mayor, where, 600 feet down and 30 feet in is not really a gateway.
No.
So at that point, would we be able to save some money by putting maybe one on each side of the uprights, where it's not obstructing view and it doesn't become an IDOT issue?
Well,
I'll wait my turn.
no, I'm going to let you go because I got nothing.
Go ahead, Dan.
On the corner, there's a cemetery. I don't think anybody that's in the cemetery is going to complain. Maybe we could work something out with the cemetery instead of, I don't know if you've looked into that, but even if our gateway sign was part of their fence and the fence came in on both sides, instead of, trying to squeeze it down the block, we have a trustee here that actually spent a lot of time on this, and I mean, we spent the money, and I remember being at some of those meetings, and they did a really good job with the branding. There were some people that didn't think we should be doing the branding and spending the money, but I don't know how much money we had spent on the branding issue itself. I know it was a lot, and there were a lot of meetings about it, so not to kind of utilize part of it where we can, but I'm going to say what Trustee Mason has said before. I don't want to buy a couch and then buy another couch to put on top of it, meaning if you're going to take and change all these signs when it's not necessary, and we can wait till the sign breaks down or something and then change it, kind of like with the issues with the sign boards. When it breaks down, then we kind of replace it. I don't know. It's a lot of money. We have a lot of things we have to pay for, right, that we're looking at.
Attorney bills? No, I'm just kidding.
I'm just kidding.
Again, another snowplow for the public works, might be a better option. I don't know. So I think we should be frugal in our steps that we take. But as far as the branding and the logo, like when it doesn't say anything for shirts on this one, for the tree it does. So the thing is, like for Homerfest, the shirts were blue this year, the label was white, and that was so it had contrast. Now it says that for the tree, but in here it says that for the logo you got to use these colors specifically. Would that apply to even like fest shirts or any other kind of shirt you would put together for the village, or would we have flexibility with that?
There's flexibility because you can do a knockout, which is the logo is in white, and then it can be on any color background.
Okay. All right. The other thing I would say is these signs here, I don't know what page this is, it doesn't say, but these signs where we got the little numbers to change or letters to change, it looks terrible. I don't think that fits with the branding at all, in my opinion.
My worry about the message board changing is, I don't know if you guys ever see what happens on the library board. Yep. That's my fear. What do you guys think about the message board right here in front of Heritage Park? No.
A lot easier to
So
monitor.
we're just going
It's
to
a lot
wait
easier.
until the sign falls down?
It's a lot easier to monitor right here.
Yeah, I think that, I actually would prefer the one with the lights, because then they can't touch it. They can't, nobody can do anything to it.
Well, I think the message board would be up high anyways. I don't think the kids could make funny sayings on
Do you
them.
have ordinances there that you have height requirements?
Yeah, but I think the one you just showed was with Brett Westcott standing on the side. Wasn't that a higher one, the message board out in front? Didn't that follow our height ordinance? Or height requirement? Your message board in front of the village hall, it wasn't a short one, it was a tall one, correct?
Yeah, they're, are you talking about this? Oh, I'm sorry. I've got to go back this way.
That wasn't the one. There was another one you showed with, there was an actual picture of Brett Westcott in it, I thought. Maybe not, maybe I'm lying. So that's
That was just a location.
That's a low board? There's not.
It's 10 feet high.
That is 10 feet high. You see the outline of the person standing?
Yeah, yeah.
Right here.
I thought there was another one that you showed me that it was taller. But
No,
maybe not.
there's nothing taller than this.
The lettering starts 2 feet off the ground. It's a 10-foot high.
I mean, kids are gonna mess with that all day.
I agree. I think Dan had a great, or Trustee Fialco had a great observation, which is trying to be frugal and put them up as needed. Maybe the one in the park, and I don't know about the lettering, but maybe the one at the park could be one of the first ones. And I think that some of the taller cylindrical ones actually look pretty good too. I don't mind the logo and the design at all. I think it's still within nature and harmony with the leaf. I see it plain as day in the tree on there. So I don't mind the logoing at all, but it's the expenditure. Maybe we could do it gradually.
It was, the committee was really looking, I think they agreed that they didn't feel you needed to necessarily replace an existing sign. So they did not really support going for the Bell Road North replacement right now, even though that would be one of the easy ones to do because we have the design already. But they did feel their decision, their recommendation was based on the amount of money that we have in the budget, and they felt that if we got started on the Eastern Gateway, that was the first priority because of the high number of eyes that would see that, and the fact that we don't have any signage out there right now. And then secondly, because we wouldn't be able to accomplish more than one large sign in this one budget, it would be to start the design development for signage here at Village Hall. They felt that this was important. And I did check with them, what do you think about just doing a monument sign without a message center? Because there's questions about digital and there's issues about changeable lettering that you're just bringing up right now. And they felt that it was important. They felt that having that message center and being digital capable for the future whenever that may become appropriate, if it ever became appropriate, was the way to go. So that's their recommendation.
To alleviate people messing with the lettering and the messaging, you almost need to move towards the digital, which is controlled by somewhere inside this facility.
Which is against our ordinances at this.
Yes.
It is.
Fantastic. Dark Skies community. Yeah.
A sense of fight over there. Janie, did you bring up a map? Oh, the map. So you said Bell Road, the North Bell Road. Where? How come I don't see a sign and I'm visualizing it?
Oh, let's see.
Where's
Is
the
there
sign
a map
at?
for the main one?
Oh, yes, you are right.
You want me to pull up the Bell Road North?
I got it visualized.
There are some of these signs on Parker.
That's the existing Bell Road North sign.
So it sounds to me that nobody wants any signage. I think we need something.
If we have $90,000 in the budget and we can work something out with the cemetery, I would be open to that discussion.
At what design?
Well, we have an original design at the west end. It should match the west end, The east?
And you're right. I just personally don't like.
Which
the
is this
but-
design.
Yeah, and
My problem with that is that corner, which is what, IDOT, because they can push the road back at some point in time. You look at all the infrastructure that's on that corner, you're fighting, if you want to get to that screen.
no, what I had said, though, is work with the cemetery.
I understand,
and make it
but-
part of their fence if they
They're-
allow us. yeah.
Well, what if they, sorry.
If you look at that corner, there's all this infrastructure that's sitting there. There's a pole, there's a communications.
There's an electric box there.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
there's a
Yeah,
big
right here.
electric box.
Go to that corner, Janie, if you...
Please.
Or Jacqueline. Right, see?
Yeah, there you go. Look at all that.
There's a, street light pole, right, but
Looks like a mishmash.
Okay, but what
it might
if,
be a problem.
what if the sign didn't have the leaf on it?
Pardon me?
What if the sign didn't have the leaf and it was just more of just the Homer Glen?
Then we're taking away the balance, I think.
Yeah, but there's no room over there.
Then don't do it, maybe.
What if it's just the vertical sign and not the big gateway sign?
That's what I was
Who's going to see
indicating
that
initially.
there?
The first issue with this one is we would have to get probably permission from IDOT to put it in the right-of-way.
Yeah,
I-
they
I
ain't going to
mean,
allow that.
I don't know that you want to put a sign inside a cemetery because that fence defines their property line. And it would be inside the
So if we were to
Peaceful
do
neighbors.
a, Jenny, if we were to do a vertical and push it to the right and go back with it, I think that would pop out. And that's kind of what I was alluding to in the beginning, was a vertical sign. And I know it's not the big gateway sign, but at least you know you're entering a Homer. And it's probably going to cost a lot less. And then we look where else we want to place maybe the, go ahead, Melissa.
I was just going to add, I think my memory serves that Merge had it was either Ocala, I think, or Orlando, where they did vertical signs in the medians. I don't know if IDOT would be okay with that, but it might be worth asking. We might have images that we could share, because I think it looked really nice.
I do too.
But take a look at the median in this area. It's very, very narrow.
But with the vertical sign, it might fit.
It's only 12 feet wide.
Roughly, yeah, correct.
And so what happens when snow plows and big trucks and...
I don't know. I just...
Well, I think in the areas where we don't have space or there's a lot of clutter going on, you do want to kind of look at verticals, whether it be on the corner, because you want it at some point, entry point, right?
Yes.
So I really don't want to see it 600 yards down and 30 feet in where it looks like Homer Glen. The village of Homer Glen is really Richards. I think that makes no sense.
Sorry.
I'll just add, this is just subjective opinion, but I think that vertical on the corner might get lost amongst all the other stuff. That's just a thought.
Yeah, it was so nasty.
And then with the median, you've got that little
Yeah.
sign, the other sign.
All right, why don't we do this? Why don't we, so this meeting doesn't go on forever, why don't we individually go dissect this and send our recommendations to Janie? Really, that's all we can do right now. Put a priority list together. Do you think the signage at the park is more important, the corner, which corner, Richards? So we could just start from there. Is that okay with everybody?
Madam Mayor, I'd still like to make some comments
Yeah.
about the branding. I served on that committee, and I have to say, be careful what you wish for sometimes, because when I was the events coordinator, we longed for a graphic that was easy to use on marketing materials. But the reality is that community and nature and harmony sells better than You Know Your Home. It says a lot more about our community. And I think the process when we chose the You Know Your Home was somewhat flawed, because when the residents came and put their little stickers on the vision boards and selected slogans that they preferred, they were never given the option to choose a slogan over community and nature and harmony. And the Community Development Committee is unanimous about not liking your Know Your Home and preferring community and nature and harmony. I think the Environment Committee probably feels the same way. The Parks Committee has demonstrated that when they put signage in the park, they don't want their signs to say, you know your home. They want their signs to say community and nature and harmony. It doesn't mean that we can't ever use that slogan on some other marketing materials, but it really speaks to a real estate ad more than it does to the identity of our community. And it doesn't evoke community pride like community and nature and harmony. And to say that we can't go back, I disagree. Sometimes you just have to suck it up and say you made a mistake and just reevaluate. And that is how I feel about this. And I think there is even when I was at the Senior Expo, I had a senior come up to me and go, what is this, you know your home stuff, you know? And I've gotten that a lot. And I don't think that we should ignore it. I think we should be careful when we approve this branding package and the matrix, because maybe there should be some adjustments to the matrix about how we use those taglines or slogans. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee. I actually agree with you. When I was saying you can't go back, I was referring to the sign design. I didn't mean, I agree. I like the community, nature, and harmony. I always have. So.
The design is fine. The slogan, I'd like to stay the same as well. So I think Sue has a great point.
Well, here we are. So, yeah.
I agree with Sue.
Isn't this beautiful? Can we just enjoy the moment?
We do have a precious moment. I agree. What you're saying to remove this, I guess, then, and I would be fine with that. So I think sticking with our foundation and not moving too far from that is the right path.
No, I'd just like to clarify something too, is what one resident pointed out to me is that you didn't see Community, Nature, and Harmony anymore on our website unless you saw the Community and Nature and Harmony Awards. So that's what you see, you know your home on, you know, when Janie talked about the homepage, social media, website, business cards, letterheads, envelopes, all those things, the tent signs, they all say you know your home. They don't say community and nature and harmony. So I think we need to revisit that, where we use the different taglines.
Janie, how much do you hate us?
Can I finish that up?
Pardon?
You're not opposed, though, to, you know, what did she say?
Oh.
Using different colors costs us more money. So, I mean, I'm okay with keeping the foundation, but in certain instances, like the banner above the SL 100 station we get now, it's made, it costs us almost $500. It's printed already, we can use it every year, right?
It doesn't say you know your home. It just has the tree.
No, it just says home,
Yeah.
welcome to home. So I didn't know if that's something that you're talking about that you don't like, though. So I just want to make sure that we're okay with, I don't see why we wouldn't be okay. But what I'm saying is we save money by not changing things we always have.
Janie, are you mad at us?
No, not at all. This is your brand.
We're halfway home.
Yeah.
Don't start a new slogan.
I'm not exactly sure. What I'm not exactly sure about is if we actually have action items for you at the December meeting as a result of this discussion.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening either.
Pardon?
I'm not sure what's going on either, but.
Yeah. I mean, you know, if the board wants to tweak the design, you need to engage with a designer and have it done. It's not something that you just paste together. If you actually want to change the brand, the board has the every right to do that and the power to do that if that's what you want to do. But it takes us back to square one a little bit. And we do have some things that are in the ground. I think the Western Gateway is probably the biggest one. 90% of those rollout examples of the brand don't use the tagline, if you go back and look at them. I'd be happy to do a PDF of that rollout part of it for you, or the whole slideshow, and get it to you somehow, so you can take a look at it when you're giving comments, if you'd like to pursue that. But, I mean, it just depends on how you want to go as a board.
What do you guys want to do? You want to sleep on it? Let her know? What do you want? I mean, this seems like a lot. All right, we're going to move on, I guess. Janie, we'll all touch base with you, I guess, to let you know what our thoughts are.
Okay, I'll provide the slides to you. Okay?
All right. Maybe we can team up 2 and 2, kind of just go through from that, so we're not sending 6 or 7 to her. Okay. We're going to move to Q, executive session. Is there a motion to go in executive session for discussion pertaining to potential real estate acquisition, discussion pertaining to municipal utilities, discussion pertaining to collective bargaining with IUOE Local 150 Public Works update, and discussion for regarding employee compensation?
I'll make that motion with a
Trustee Fialko,
5-minute break,
is there a second?
please.
I'll second.
Trustee Reinders, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute recess.
Thank you.